Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for being so patient. We are finally getting ready for our final series of the day. It is going to be the premier show match. It is going to be State versus actually Aigis, not Seed. We had a little bit of trouble finding Seed. He may have been oversleeping a little bit, but Aigis has been kind enough to step in, and we're going to be watching same. Well, actually, no, this is not E. Wait a second. No, we're actually changing the matchup. It's not a PvP anymore. It's a PvT.
Exactly. Which I'm a little, I don't know, I'm a little happier about.
I mean, PvT is my favorite matchup, so I'm happier about it too. But I don't mind PvP quite as much. I was a little bit sad because I heard you and Rifkin the other day talking about like, oh man, all the PvP blowouts here. So I'm like, what are you talking about? PvP is the best mirror matchup of all time. Okay, that's my
Wait,
personal
when were we
opinion.
doing that?
I think it was like it was some random cast in the past week or two. But anyways,
We do make.
I like PvP. That's all I'm gonna say. But
All right.
regardless, we're gonna be watching PvT. We can agree on this. PvT is a pretty awesome matchup.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Top two for me, of course, TVZ. I kind of conform with, I guess, everyone else. Or TVZ's first,
Yeah.
TVP second, and then for me, TVT is third. But usually, everyone else gets their mirror matchup in the third slot.
Yeah, exactly right. That's a really weird thing that I've noticed. It's always like the matchups that involve your race usually, or sometimes you'll go with like TVZ just because that's the
TVZ
general.
is the like outlier, right? Like you could be Protoss and still like TVZ a lot. It is the
Yeah.
best matchup. Sorry, there's just no arguing it.
I mean, it's pretty good. It's pretty interesting. But regardless, we are going to be jumping into the Terran versus Protoss. I want to remind you guys, if you are tuning in either through the embed on Team Liquid or whatever, please do click on through. We are going to be doing all the streaming and everything through Hitbox, and we actually have got a great interface through Hitbox. They're putting up the money for the show matches, and we got some GIFs. There's also the subscription option if you want to subscribe to the Team Gravity Fight Night and post your own GIFs in the chat. And of course, whenever you do actually subscribe for those $5, you'll actually get a awesome $5 off on G2A.com. So I mean, you're basically not even spending money. You're just moving money from one place to another. It's actually, you're not even spending money. So no reason not to consider checking that subscription out. But with that being said, guys, we're going to be jumping into the game and introducing the players as we spawn very soon.
Team Gravity presents Fight Night.
Y'all ready for this?
All right, very soon has arrived. We're going to be up here in the top right-hand corner of the map, top of the red Protoss player. It is. Wait a second. State's team? Is he still on route?
He's not on a team. State?
Okay.
He's not.
No, he's on a team anymore. All right, well, it is going to be State. I had a moment where I was thinking about that. I was like, wait a second. Why can't I remember his team?
Well, on the bottom left, as the blue Terran, it is Roots Aegis.
We've been getting a lot of root players here today. And I've got to say, I can't really complain too much. All the root players showing some... Wait a second. Masa wins the first series, representing Team Root. I mean, Kelzer was also representing
Yeah.
Team Root, but Masa representing Team Root. Katz wins series number 2, representing Team Root. If Aigis wins this, we're going to have an all-root finish for today.
And I think that's very, very possible. I like both these players a lot, actually, just as like, players and people. I mean, State was in he won our most recent tournament, and he was really cool about it. He stayed up to like 6 a.m. Korea time because that's the only time apparently his internet really works. So like he's like the best person to conduct tournaments around because he is willing to do like these really odd times for him. But then there's Aigis, who's like really cool, like kind of vocal opinions on Twitter, especially when it comes to having a little bit of Terran bias, which Terran here, that are always enjoyable to read. And he's on like the up and up as a Terran player, and State is just that guy that has a storyline where he's constantly having something to prove, being in Korea for as long as he has.
Yeah, there's always that question, especially with State, of, because people know, like, okay, just move into Korea. You don't just inherently, like, become god tier, like, StarCraft player, right? It takes time. You have to wait a little bit. But it's always the question of, like, how long is it going to take? State has obviously gotten a lot better since his move to Korea. But people are always asking, like, is he there yet? Is he at that point where he is one of the best North Americans that, you know, spending time in Korea or anything? Is he playing at that Korean level yet? And I think he hasn't quite gotten there yet, or at least shown that yet.
I think it's the same amount of time where the you know, Evo Genius's guys, you know, use the team house to get better.
Yeah. Low blow.
I know, right? That was pretty low. But seriously, in regards to like states, because like EG was like a whole different can of worms, so that was just a joke. Don't think much on it. But State is known for being a very, very hard worker. Like when he was with the Pro League teams, which is a pretty high honor just to be allowed to be in like that team house, even if it was one of the what were they called? ESF teams. They're still now KESPA.
Esports Federation, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, they said like he's a super hard-working player. A couple of them actually said, and I think State actually confirmed this, that he was good when it came to in-house practice, and he just had trouble showing it in Pro League games. But he's just a very hard worker, so we are just constantly waiting for him to show that skill. And you know, winning Bayshare TV's last tournament was certainly really good for showing that he is using his time in Korea wisely. And he also has a couple of builds that are very specific to him, which is awesome to see. Like, the one thing that I think is the most worrisome thing about going to Korea is that you lose originality as a foreigner. Like, it sounds really like cheesy, I guess, but it's true. So it's nice to see him still holding out, you know, some of his own specific builds versus a couple of different races.
Yeah, well, he's going to be throwing out one of the slightly older schooler styles of PVT, and he's going to be going for Blink relatively early on. Now, this is an expansion Blink, so he's not going to be heavily committed all into this right now, but he's still wanting to do some damage. And I got to say, like, this is actually working out pretty well, because oftentimes you end up seeing, like, the Reaper openings coming out from Terran players, but I guess with no Reaper opening, you know that there's probably not a super early gas guys to throw down. You're not scared of Widow Mines, which is the #1 reason why Protoss players these days don't open up Twilight Council first.
Yeah, it is definitely a worry. I mean, just like, even if you go Twilight right into Robo as State is doing, it's still like, you know, like, I don't have it right here, right now. This is scary, especially since technically IOS could have been doing like a 1-base Widow Mine. And that would have been hitting like actually a minute ago, and that would have been very difficult to deal with, but that's not the case. In fact, Agas got away with something that was very greedy. State might have figured that out based on how the game has gone, and it's been like a little like, he got away with a 14cc. What am I gonna do? But he does have to take into consideration that there is going to be a sizable bioforce. There was no Marines sent out to get an overcharge to try and get the stalkers. It's going to be pure. Everything IS has gotten off of 3 racks is going to go at him soon enough, and he's got to be prepared.
Whoa, very interesting. We got a Dark Shrine coming down from State. Now, sometimes we've seen, you know, Warp Prism and DTs getting made, and yeah, there is going to be that Warp Prism. So this is kind of nice. Usually when I see this, it would be something to try and snipe off Stim. I don't know if it's actually going to come in time for that, though, because, I mean, yeah, Dark Shrine's going to take another 70 seconds. Stim's going to be finishing up by then.
Yeah, what it is going to come in time for is basically the push out, you know? So that in itself is always a good move. Whether it's Zealots or DTs, you get the Warp Prism in there at a certain time, and that's great. That's one of the reasons that I originally started to like State, besides knowing that he was actually like a really good guy and hard-working guy, was that he used Warp Prisms versus Terran. Would you think as a Terran would be my like worst thing? Like, I hate people who do that. Yeah, for me I do, but watching it is still like really enjoyable. So bring it back in for DTs. Hopefully it'll be correctly timed, that Aegis won't kill him in an attack, but also won't just be readily, you know, at home ready to defend. You know, both are going to be pretty bad for DTs.
Yeah, got to be very careful over here. State has Blink, of course, but I mean, Aegis has just finished up Stim, so he's going to have an opportunity. Oh, actually doesn't decide to stim up. I was a little bit afraid about that Warp Prism getting sniped off by a nice stim up, but he does get away with it.
But he sees the Warp Prism. No, don't you. You can't kill it. You can't kill it. Oh, that would have been so bad.
I mean, these units stemming up is also not exactly ideal. Oh, God, State, be careful with those stalkers. Loses one of them, but I mean, you have to remember, there's no Medivacs quite out just yet, so these units are damaging themselves every time they stem up. Finally, the Medivacs are joining up with the army. So going to be able to repair a little bit, but you know, I like State's control of this so far.
This is really odd. This is super odd. I mean, you got like a 270 surround here with the Blink Stalkers, but that just makes it harder for State to control. You have him warping in the main base. The DT was cleaned up. He tried to warp in a couple of Zealots, did not work out. Trying again, but is now going to lose his DTs. And potentially Warp Prism, Warp Prism goes down.
Keeps one DT alive for a little bit longer. Scan actually lasts long enough, and he is able to clean that guy up, so State, here's the reason why I've always been a little bit hesitant about players going for DT openings, is that if your DTs get picked off, if you don't do a lot of damage with them, then you're in this very awkward situation where you're like, well, I don't have the power units like the Colossus or the High Templar is out, and I've invested a lot into these DTs. DTs take a long time to come out, and they take a lot of resources as well. So if you end up losing them, you're in a really awkward position where how do you defend against the Terran push without any kind of AoE?
Yeah. He lost 4 DTs, and I think he only got like 5. Well, he got 10 workers. That's a little bit better, but still.
Oh, that time warp.
God. That was a really good time warp. The Colossus was trying to get stemmed upon, and actually it looks like it might still die. State has to retreat.
Yeah, he's gonna try and save his third expansion. The shields are out, but the Nexus is still gonna finish up. He keeps the Colossus alive a little bit longer. The Stalker's trying to blink back almost as a shield, but it's not quite working out. Bojan overcharged though. This could actually be a turning point.
Okay, so we'll keep the third alive, but then he loses a lot of his army. So was that in the end worth it? Aigis also has a third. He also has a decent SCV count, and he still has that army that's been accruing back at home. So where did that go? Who's in favor now, right? Like, their army supply is kind of similar, the SCV is kind of similar.
Does he have an army back at home? I mean, right now, actually, it looks like he was trying to get his barracks production ramped up. He's making more add-ons. He's getting up his engineering base and getting his third established. I think that he actually may have just been getting ready to make a big army, but he doesn't actually have another big army to put on a lot of pressure with. He maybe has enough to do some drops, but I think that State actually has enough stalkers to maybe deal with drops right now.
We'll see if that is Aigis' plan. He could start being drop heavy, but since he started Vikings as opposed to 6, 8, 10 medevacs, I would say that he's looking for more of a direct push over the kitchen sink on Overgrowth. You guys that know, there's literally a kitchen. That is the most abusable spot for Vikings. That's what you always try and hit. That's what pros players are afraid of.
Yeah, it's not quite a metaphor, but it does hurt as much as getting hit by the kitchen sink. And what am I going to be dropping over into the third expansion? We'll see if State actually reacts in time. He's pulling his units over there, but the probes... Okay, he's going to be okay. Oh, man. Probe sacrifices itself. For its good generosity, it manages to survive.
Yeah. Probably thought that was a observer, if anything, but killing a DT is nice, too. That was technically a scout for State, so, if he wasn't worried about a drop, he is now.
Yeah, I mean, forcing out scans is always nice. I mean, if you get the scout off and you get the scan off, it's very, very much nice to know that and get your stalkers in position. Observer scouts off the medevacs as well, so he's already positioning those stalkers. Is he going to try and allow those medevacs to get in? Is he going to try and bait them in and then blink on top of them, though?
Yeah. Well, that'd be the best move for him, but is Aigis going to actually fall for it? I would actually have said he should have waited.
Yeah.
1.
Oh, 2 full medevacs get picked off.
Yeah. All right, so what could have happened was that if Aigis had waited a little bit longer, then he could have gotten a second attack at the third, I should say, and maybe did some damage. I mean, the Nexus is already just a little bit low from the earlier attack, and that would have been much better, but maybe he would have lost more medevacs concentrated at 2 places at once.
Yeah, something that we did talk about in some of the actual other matches, surprisingly enough, is how important those upgrades are in PvT, and we do actually have a nice upgrade lead for Aigis. I mean, not only is it sitting on 1-1 versus the 0-0 of State. State is chrono boosting out his 1-1, but I mean, we already got +2 weapons coming up for Aigis as well, so he's going to be sitting really comfortably in that regard.
Yeah. This was very dangerous of State to go forward like that, where the Blink Stalkers were lagging behind. I mean, the Vikings had seen this Colossus. There is no saving them. But lucky for State, everything is together. Nice little snipe on the Observer. The missiles are right there. This is actually still an okay position, I'd say, for the Terran, where they can still have the bit of a high ground with a little ledge over the kitchen for the Vikings. The Sim City might have hurt Aigis a little bit, as he would have been choked in with the 3 racks there. But it looks like State wasn't even going to commit. And I kind of got that feeling, and I like the choice, too. Because he's getting upgrades, double forge, like charge, storm behind it. Like, there's no reason to just push in for there if you weren't sure you were going to win.
Exactly. Get a couple of Proxy Pounds set up in case you do decide to go in, but Stalker's got to be careful. Blinking back, but a couple of concussive shells. Going to be able to pick off a Stalker or 2 over there. State, I've got to say, this is turning into a serious macro game, and we got the 4th expansion coming down for State. We've got 77 probes out for State, and he's trying to get up Psystorm, but it doesn't look like it's going to come in time for this engagement, most likely.
Yeah. I mean, if the SCVs were being pulled, I feel a little bit worried, because the upgrades are still looking good for Aigis, and his Viking count, it's, it's okay. It's at 11. Actually, would have been better to have, like, 16.
Oh, the probes!
Whoops.
Well, this is actually a super awkward position because as you were talking about that kitchen sink, well, looks like Aiga's using his opponent's kitchen sink against him. He's getting into a great position over here, kills off the third, and State can't even really move in. He throws on a time warp, double time warp. He's going to try and punish, I guess, but is he going to be able to kill off enough units over here?
Okay, I guess he was waiting for Storm. There we go. That's what he was waiting for. I was going to say there weren't that many Vikings that it was totally terrifying, but yeah, you know, the Marauders is still living through all those storms, all those Colossus. A good spread again from Aigis. Is he actually going to just crush him here? No. Okay, no, he runs back. Vikings are all dead.
But I mean, losing the third expansion definitely sucks. I would also say, like, losing all those probes. I mean, again, a second ago, State had 76, 77 probes. He's down to 46 now. So he's got the fourth expansion. He's going to be able to make a lot of probes very quickly, but this is still a really unfortunate situation for State. He's got to do some kind of counter harassment damage, but the ghosts are already out for Aigis.
Yeah, he's got to be so careful about his counterattack damage. I mean, he gets 3 medevacs for 1 stalker, maybe 2 stalkers, and an observer. So that was actually a really nice start. I mean, of course, the worst thing about Terran is that actually having to choose between medevacs and Vikings, and all of his Vikings died, so you should be thinking 100% Vikings. If you have to choose, then you're actually in trouble a little bit. But again, State, I think, you know, he gets good kills. That's great, but he's not really looking to truly attack. And I really like that choice. I mean, his third's going to get up soon enough, and he's going to be at a okay probe count again. And now he has 2 splash. Now he can have those High Templars in key positions ready for like a backstorm or just, you know, emergency storms, feedbacks as well. It's a lot less precarious than just only Colossus, although still difficult as ghosts are out.
Yeah, I think the important thing to note is that one of the things that went really terribly for that last engagement was just that State wasn't quite in position for the army. And this time, the Zealot is going to see this army moving up along the left-hand side. He does have the opportunity to get in position. He's actually moving out onto the map. I'm a little bit concerned about him just losing his fourth and third the same way that he did before.
Yeah. He started, I mean, he got another observer, but that might have been just for the Cloaked Ghost. Yeah, in fact, only 1 observer on the field is actually kind of bad. Not only do you not have those avenues of attack covered, but 1 observer is very easy to snipe off, and then you have Cloaked Ghost to deal with, and that's bad.
Well, okay, now we have a really weird position where Aigis is between the third and the fourth of State. State doesn't have that many units. He has a couple of High Templars, but they don't quite have Storm. Okay, now they have Storm, but EMPs, oh god.
Okay,
that's a Storm on some of the ghosts, and he's gonna actually flank this army.
Okay, EMPs do go down though. What do they hit on the main army? Looks like maybe some of the Colossus. More go down on mostly the Colossus. Another storm goes out. Those back storms that I was talking about, absolutely key here.
Oh my god. And the Colossus, they're getting flanked by some of the Vikings.
Oh my god, he didn't have enough Zealots. Oh god, that actually might just be it. Don't think protect those Colossus, which have survived so long.
Well, State is trying to warp in a couple more Zealots. He's got some more High Templars, but are there any ghosts left over? Oh, actually, I don't even know. He's got to hit some money storms over here before the actual Nexus goes down. Oh, loses one of the storms, and other one doesn't quite hit.
Well, Zealots, it looks like they're going to clean up just barely. DT's trying to help out. It's going to happen, all right? Like, those upgrades didn't quite come into effect as, you know, Aigis just barely away from that +3 armor. Yeah. State has gotten a 2-2, of course, the double forges. Could not afford 3-3 with how these fights have been going, but starts it now, hoping that it'll take Aigis a few more minutes to really recollect that army, as it should. I mean, honestly, Terran production, not that great usually. And there was no point in time where this was such a stalemate game that the Terran player could go ahead and throw down 5 command centers, 15 extra barracks. You know, that's never happened. So his production is a little slow.
I feel like this next engagement is going to be so unbelievably down to the High Templar versus Ghost control. I mean, we got 5 or 6 ghosts being made at a time from Aigis, and now there's a lot of High Templar being made. The Viking count is still high enough. Oh, that War Prism gonna get picked off, but I mean, the Viking count is high enough that I'm not sure how much the Colossus are going to be able to do, especially with 3 Vikings being produced at a time. But if the storms are good, you can still do a lot of damage in State's position.
I love State's High Templar usage as well. Like, the best Protosses have High Templars ready to go everywhere, you know, just so they can get maybe a lucky storm, but also the back attack storms, and also if their entire army does die, the first things Terrans do is that they stim and say like, oh my god, I'm gonna win, and usually they stim into 2 more storms that are saved behind that. Like, it always happens. So gotta have those backup storms ready to go, and State really does with 9 High Templars on the field.
Oh man, State has a High Templar position on the low ground of his main base, but it's not gonna quite be in vision range of these medevacs.
Oh.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything in the main. That's actually like the one place. He even has one at the gold, ready to try and storm the army as he moves in. But this drop in the main, it's gonna kill off the Templar archives, it's gonna kill off pylons. It's just gonna cause absolute havoc for State.
Yeah. A couple of DTs trying to be warped in, 2 were canceled, but that is 1 scan's worth, so not that bad. Did State split correctly? It looked like he was going to predict the other attack, but then he moves all of his army over to the right anyways.
Well, he's got a couple of storms over at that 4th expansion. If the army does decide to move in, all the ghosts are on that side of the map as well. The army does get cleaned up over the main base as the stalkers blink on top of him. Only a single medevac survives, but nothing in it. Can he move back in time? Are these storms going to be able to buy the time?
I guess wasn't as blitzy as I thought it was going to be, so that might have just saved State's 3rd and 4th. Of course, I think that these errant High Templars are also, you know, they're not only just good in general, but they're creating kind of a fear factor. Aegis is constantly worried he's going to run into 4 storms.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the idea of saying, you know, you get a medevac drop over in the corner, you have it sitting in dead airspace. Even if it doesn't have the opportunity to drop in, your opponent is scared to move out because you're afraid of that medevac coming in. Same thing, you're afraid to move out too far on the map because you're afraid you're just going to walk into a High Templar. You got to lead with the ghost. You got to constantly be making sure you have the attention span to pay attention to your army, to make sure that the ghosts are ready to EMP. And now we end up seeing a High Templar moving in. It's got the opportunity to storm. Doesn't get the storm off though. Snipe comes down.
Yeah. How many Colossus there? Okay, it's 3 Colossus versus 9 Vikings. Actually not that bad for the Colossus count. 1 more would actually make it pretty good. A lot of Stalkers have actually been remade, which is very important. So this is actually like definitely it could be a very good fight for either side, honestly, but State's the one that's lower in supply, so it's really up to him to make it work.
Yeah, State has been doing a good job with these High Templars, but how many does he really have left over? He only has 4 out on the map right now, and I don't know if they're actually with his army. He's got a couple, he's got some sentries. This army is moving into the 4th expansion. Where are the Colossus? Where are the Zealots? He needs the backup.
I was afraid that the Stalkers would be able to take down the Vikings, but honestly, the sentries and Archon are doing a good enough job, so the Colossus are still alive.
Oh my god, the 4th expansions might actually even survive. I mean,
the Zealot
really going to target fire down.
Nice.
Oh, this is turning into the sickest flank ever. He's going to be able to kill off everything over here. All the Vikings are eventually going to die. Two Colossus doing some nice damage, but the Sentry's actually going to be able to kill those guys off. And State holds. He holds.
Yeah, he does. He does. Unfortunately, like the last 3 Vikings did take down 2 Colossus. That's it was a little unfortunate, but 2 still survived. So it is again kind of like a clean slate for both players as they have to, you know, get the Ghost Vikings versus Colossus High Templar count back up, which is always the slowest thing to do. Now, pushing out like this has been State's reaction to taking a decent fight, kind of getting that fear back into Aegis's eyes here, but this might have been a mistake. A lot of EMPs go down, just wipe his army completely.
That is the difficulty of High Templars versus Ghosts. I mean, sometimes you can land...
those Vikings are so cool.
Yeah. Well, the Vikings are going to be able to chase down those Colossus. Those are going to be some, unfortunately, probably dead Colossus. At least one of them. Oh, wow. I'm actually going to get away with almost no health. 8 health or 6 health left over on it. But is it really going to be enough? I mean, even with Aegis' kind of paltry force over here, I feel like he's got enough to start pushing on in. At least get a cancel on this gold.
Pushing out did not help in that scenario, although it was a good move the last 2 times. But, you know, as you look at this map, it's been non-stop action. But you take a second and look, Aegis has gotten 2 more bases, including a gold. Like, he's really the one here that needs to consolidate, and he will most likely win.
Yeah, that is the scary thing. But I mean, another thing to consider is, again, because PvT, it's not always just about who has the bigger army. That obviously is a huge, huge benefit. But I mean, sometimes because of the nature of, again, EMPs, Storms, Colossus, and just the micro involved in those engagements, State still has an opportunity. And that's the reason why he's going to stick around. If he can hold on, I mean, theoretically, Aegis will just be mining out a little bit sooner. If State can hold on, take cost-efficient engagements, he can still make this work. But he has got to take the engagements very, very handily, even in his favor.
Yeah. Speaking of, I mean, look at the units lost, the resources lost. So even. I cannot believe it.
Oh my god. Under 1,000. There's a 500 mineral gas difference right now between the 2.
Yeah, usually like a storm lands on a bajillion Marines and that really like make it skyrocket, or an EMP and snipes land on like 6 High Templars. Like something happens where it just like gets screwed up. But not this game. It's constantly exchanging blow for blow. If only State hadn't moved out that last time, he would have like 30 more supply, and I'd be like, it's still a game he could win, but he's now down by 60 supply. The upgrades are even. That's something he was able to kind of sneak in there.
Oh man, DT is now moving in, actually doing DT snipes off on the Ghost. This is a really sick play from, he actually managed, I mean, every single Ghost that he trades out for, if he kills one Ghost with the DT, I think it may actually be worth it.
Yeah, trying to EMP the Dark Templar, but wastes
oh my God.
2 EMPs.
This DT is still alive, he's just gonna keep killing reinforcements.
Yeah, true hero, man. This is also buying State time to not only get units, but also accrue energy on the High Templars.
Yeah.
He's only down to 3, though. I mean, there was time we had 9, and that was so comfy. 3,
only 2 with the army right now as well. Well, one High Templar gonna get focus fire down, but manages to escape, barely snipe. Oh.
Just throws down a random storm. That's all he could do.
Oh, there's still a couple of Ghosts left over as well, so this gold expansion most likely not gonna be long for this world. I mean, it's getting focus fire down, so... Well, the focus fire no longer happening. A big storm goes down actually on a lot of the army, although it does hit a lot of the Zealots. State is actually starting to push this back. He holds the gold expansion for now.
Can't believe he keeps doing this. Well, one of the biggest things that we see in Terran vs. Protoss is the Ghost on the front just dying, all right? So that doesn't actually surprise me that much, but just the tenacity of State to continue holding on, I guess has got to been like, it's a 34-minute game, and I'm sure at like 10-minute, 15-minute, 20-minute, 25 minutes, he was like, I'm going to win this game. Like, this is it. Okay, no, it's not. And then they continue on for the next 5 minutes. But he just got to be like smacking his head right now.
Zombie Grove, the gold expansion for Aigis is starting to, like, it's going to start to wane over here. State is actually going to have a better economy than Aigis for a little bit soon if he holds this gold.
I just can't believe, like, I expect, you know, Aigis to at least have this really big bank, and he doesn't. I cannot believe this is going on. I think one of the biggest issues maybe right now is that Aigis has never gotten rid of any SCVs. So even though he has a 40 army or 40 supply lead, sometimes they didn't really show in the army supply. So, you know, 67 SCVs at 35 minutes in a regular TVP, probably not what you want, but it's been so action-packed that I understand not, you know, thinking you could go ahead and risk that. Like, this, you've never gotten a bank enough to do that.
Yeah. Looks like a Ghost gonna be able to do some nice damage to those probes. Unfortunately, a State is going to have to stop mining over there entirely. And I want to note, I mean, the 4th expansion is almost mined out. The 3rd natural and main are all mined out. So whenever Aigis is able to stop mining over there, it stops all mining. But here we end up seeing a big engagement. A lot of EMP is going down. And Aigis, he's got a pretty decent spread over here. He's not actually, or by spread, I mean, he's moved back pretty far. I think he's going to be able to take this pretty handily.
Yeah, he ran in there. He saw clumped up yellow units, Colossus, Sentries, you know, Zealots, and he went for the EMPs. That was a ballsy move. He literally ran into Colossus.
Yeah.
But it ended up just barely working. Oh, if those had been storms, he actually would have been able to hold again. But he's running out of stalkers. He's running out of units. A Dark Templar's worked in. Desperation.
DTs.
Does he have any scans, though? This is actually going to work.
Oh my God, these DTs are holding. And the expansion is up and focus right down. The Colossus pops out. It's actually going to survive as well. It looks like, oh my God, Zombie Grove State holds again.
Oh, State, God.
Wait, there are 3 medevacs left over, and now State, Aigis again gets to make the decision. Do I make medevacs or do I make medevacs?
Right?
Are you for real
That's
right
now? That's what I'm starting to say. Like, I can't even, like, State is a beast right now.
Protoss everywhere are celebrating and heralding the return, the holding of State, and every Terran everywhere is buying a punch bag over on Amazon right now because that's what they need after watching this game. State is just making this Protoss hold look unreal.
They print out a picture of State and they put it on it too. Like, they are mad at State, all right?
Oh my God.
Okay, well, let's take a step back. Aigis is still probably going to win this freaking game. Because not only is Aigis running out of money, State is literally on 1 base. That gold base is all of the mining he has.
So is Aigis, though, right?
Well, the thing about, you know, Terran is that we can just lift up and take your base that you never took. So I actually expect that to happen in like 2 minutes here. Like, his gold base is going to lift.
That's the thing. Think about how this game has been going. Every single time that State has been on the defensive, minus like maybe the early attack at the 3rd, it's worked out better for State. Every single time Aigis has been on the defensive, or, you know, State has been moving out, State ends up losing the engagement. So maybe what State ends up doing is he mines out this gold, and then he goes to the top right-hand corner. That's when he actually just starts mining from that base. Although, Maybe I guess won't actually give him time for that.
Right?
That's what you're trying to say. Yeah, he's doing that right now.
Yeah, like State can't afford a Nexus, just straight up. He's about to run out of minerals to afford a Nexus unless he long distance mines. Terran just lifts the command center. He has like 4 of them.
Yeah, that's true. I think actually, yeah, if Igus just decides to start long distance mining or even heck take the expansion over there, what is State gonna do? Can't really afford to move out over there. This harassment also from Igus has just been absolutely brutal. You have to remember that State has been losing a lot of workers during this. If he loses too many, I mean, he hasn't gotten to that point yet, but if he loses too many, then he's gonna have to start using resources to remake them. But State, he might actually be able to catch this army at a bit of an awkward angle. He's got a lot of charge cells. He's gonna be able to trap this army in.
But no storms. He's missing, half of a splash. Those zealots are gonna melt. The DTs are being scanned. There we go. And finally, I think Igus takes a very, very decisive battle. Yeah, all the Gs are gone. That's...
there is a nuke to just say no. Stop all mining whatsoever. Oh my god, he stops mining. There's not going to be any warpins. There's literally
a Nexus
next to 0. Well, yeah, you can get rid of the.
I just like, did he really have to?
Well, he can get rid of the shields. He can start doing more damage with a nuke.
Okay.
It helps. It helps. Okay, there's actually 0 units coming in additional for State, so the longer he waits with his defense, the harder it's going to get, but Sentry is being warped in. He gets some force shields down, but I mean, it's just not enough, and that is going to be it.
Oh my god. I can't believe how long he stayed alive. Like, what the hell?
Fortress that is State finally ends up crumbling as he decides he moved out. Zombie Garb, he moved out. And I guess it's kind of cheating to say he moved out over there, because I mean, really, he was trying to move down to the low ground to stop Igus from exploiting that low ground situation underneath his gold. But I mean, every single time he defends over inside of his gold expansion, he wins the fight. Every single time he moved out down to the low ground with the Xel'Naga Watch Tower or something, he ended up losing the fight. And finally, Igus was able to force the engagement on the low ground. And that, honestly, was what ended up finally letting him win the game. Oh, God. Well, that was that game 1? That was game 1. Oh, man. See, this is why PvT is my favorite matchup. Because sometimes you'll get the blowout games. I mean, we've all seen them where one player just, like, they win the engagement and then they just win the game. It's like, that's all that happens in the game. But when you get 2 players who are pretty evenly skilled and really back and forth, you see these kind of games, this is where it just gets action-packed. This is where it just becomes that next level kind of play that becomes my favorite matchup.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, it's such a long time since I've had such a back and forth. Usually the Terran either SCV pulls and then like whatever. Good game, I guess, like fun, right? Or they drop her too much, or they Widow Mine. Like, that's the Terran wins, and it's not nearly as action-packed, it's not nearly as long. Or it does get very long, and I just start going, like, Protoss is stupid, because they start warping in DTs, like, Warp Prism, like, 16 zealots in your main at a time, and it's just so dumb. Yeah. Just like, why is this fun either? But to actually have a game where harass was limited to both sides, they took constant engagements, like, no opportunities to just slap down 5 command centers. Mm-hmm. That is like a jewel right now. Like, you just don't find it.
Exactly. It wasn't like, oh man, well, he did this massive amount of damage and like killed off 60 workers or like 50 workers through like harassment, and that's why he is back in the game. No, it's just actually like taking really good engagements constantly. It was constant engagements. Now, how this next map is going to play out, I have no idea. Expedition Lost, PvT. I'm not a... All right, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
I just know for a fact that State has a couple of Mortal All-Ins that he'll use on this map. I believe it was versus Zuri last time I cast, but you can do it versus Terran too.
That is actually a really interesting potential. I mean, Immortal All-In's very much fallen out of favor for a long time, and then there was like this weird 3-week to like a 1-month period where you started seeing them again.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen them. I feel like they're falling out of favor again. Yeah.
Flash.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I think that's cemented, that not that it's back, but that you should be really mad at it.
It's not a good strategy. It's just a strategy that you should be upset with.
Yes, exactly.
All right, well, we're going to find out whether or not he's going to be going for those kind of all-ins as we jump into the game and introduce the players. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map, we have the red Terran player. Took that last game, but he had to work for it. It is Root Gaming's Aegis.
In the top right, as the blue Protoss, it's State. Stonewall State.
Stonewall State. I like it.
Yeah. I guess wouldn't really understand that reference. Don't we learn much about American history, do they?
I don't know. I mean, we're both Americans, but we
State's
would learn
American.
State's American too, but we would learn a lot of random facts in our history classes about other countries.
You know what?
No.
No. I never knew Australia was a prison island, basically. I only learned that from StarCraft 2. I learned so many things about different countries, not because of the American education system, because haha, right? But because I'm in StarCraft and talk to so many different people.
Yeah, that's actually Australia has interesting history. I actually still don't know that much about it, but I have. And just put them on an island and let them live with each other. And then I think it was a meme or something, or some random image, and it was just the final panel was just "Good day, mate" or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's got an interesting history, but
sure.
There's a lot of good eggs in there. Aegis definitely one of them. There's Moonglade, right?
Pig, Moonglade, Zeph. I mean, there's so many good Australians.
Yeah.
Maynard, Jesus, they're the best.
They're really nice. Yeah,
right?
They're really nice.
Yeah, but as far as I think American history is taught, I doubt Civil War was the number one, because that was our thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But anyways, so we looks like a proxy, some type of proxy. It's only on one gas.
That's so interesting, because Zombie Grub, I know that you're saying it's only on one gas, and I can't help but notice that usually if you're going for a proxy oracle, you'd want a little bit more gas. Maybe?
You can do it off of one gas.
You can.
You just can't get anything else, like a stalker, shift gate, like a warp gate. But the thing is that some Terrans might make the mistake of being he only has one gas, he can't possibly be proxying. They also should be checking for that second pylon, because that's the other big reveal. Where's second pylon? So he sees no second pylon. He sees the a zealot pop out, which I think is already. It's a little odd, just because there were 2 probes already down there to stop you from engineering bay blocking. And if he gets back in here, I mean, he's still gonna be hey, it's one gas. What is going on? But I think he should figure it out.
Yeah, Mothership Core are gonna finally pop out. The Zealot gets the final shot on the SCV, but yeah, I guess should be thinking wait a second, what's up right now? There is a Nexus thrown down behind this though.
Yeah.
This is interesting.
It's BS, man. I hate it. See, because I only I used to be the type of player that'd be oh, one gas, they can't possibly be cheesing me, and I'd leave, I'd bounce, whatever. But then I learned that's not correct. So
Aegis knows. He's looking
okay,
right now.
Good.
He is gonna scout this out. But I gotta say, honestly, the way that this is sort of played out, to me, it almost just feels like it happens to be a proxy, but I could very well see this being an in-base Stargate and doing a very, very similar thing, right?
Yeah. Well,
he goes for the expansion, he gets up the Mothership Core, he gets up most of the things he would normally get.
Yeah, I didn't really scout the bottom right of State's base anyway, so it could have technically been in his base and equally unscouted.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think State was expecting a Reaper, just because it wasn't a 14cc, right? So
yeah.
There are enough Marines here to deal with this Oracle to die. It's not a big deal. He knows that Widowmines are going to be out in the field, so it's you're a Protoss, for life, right? Widowmines are out. Are you ever going to really go back into the base? Is it too scary? Oh, he's going to die. Oh my god. Okay.
Here's the thing. Yeah, it's if you are up, here's the thing, actually, if you set off that Widowmine, but you make it appear, but you step out of range, if you have reaction time, I want to say as good as a State because I want to actually note for everyone that's watching right now, neither of these players are playing with the. I think that we're playing on the Korean server, right? We never switched
there's
back.
pretty good lag. Or not lag.
Or sorry, not lag. Yeah, so like State has like the opportunity to have like a really fast reaction time. You can see that Widow Mine before it goes off, and you can actually react and say, "Oh, you got the Widow Mine over there," and then you just don't move to that location.
He just
and
did
you
it.
can still get damage done. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in the mineral line too, which is one of the hardest things to see. I mean, Terran's just gotten really good at hiding Widow Mines. That's why I would be so scared to go back in there, because the Revelation I don't think is as important versus Terran as versus Zerg. Like, you really want to have it constant versus Zerg. But it's definitely helpful versus Terran. Like, yeah, I'd love to Revelation your Medivacs. So do you really want to like try and sacrifice it for just 1 or 2 SCV kills?
Exactly, yeah. And I love just the control pattern that State is kind of exhibiting with this Oracle. He's poking forward and pulling back, poking forward and pulling back, just little bits at a time, and kind of saying, okay, this area is clear. This area doesn't have Widow Mines. This area doesn't have Widow Mines. He sees where one of the Widow Mines burrows in the natural expansion. And actually, there is still a Widow Mine in the main base. He is taking a notice. Oh, he doesn't notice the SCV stack on top of it. That was actually, I gotta hand it to Aigis over there. He stacks the SCVs on top of the Widow Mine to make it difficult to see.
But look what State's getting away with behind this, you know? Like, I guess scouted it, but he still didn't have the absolute perfect reaction, which would have been the first Widow Mine shot, hit the first Oracle. That would have been no problem, game goes on. But now it does a little bit more damage. He's down by 13 SCVs. State's third is about to finish. No, it's finished. So that's a Photon Overcharge that you have there. And he still doesn't have a big enough force to really threaten State. In fact, he's not threatening him at all yet. So now Colossus is going to get out. Like, State's in such a good position.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering about this decision. I understand, like, take out the Stargate. God, those Oracles are so annoying. It's like Terran frustrations, right? But would he have just been better off just going to the third, since he doesn't... Well, actually, wait. No. He doesn't know about the third.
No. Oh, that's the trickiest thing about freaking Protoss. You expect a certain time for their third base, because, you know, Protoss have to be the most fearful of losing their third. Unless it's finished, and then it's supposed to overcharge, and that's a different thing. But in terms of taking it, they got to be the most scared. So, but if they risk it, then you're just not going to check it.
Dropping the main base, 3 Widow Mines actually in the mix. We got an Observer that does scout it out, and State is moving back some of his Stalkers and Zealots, but he can still take some okay damage over here if he's not careful. We got 2 dropping in the main base and 1 reserved for the natural expansion.
Yeah. Still not gonna be able to catch the Medivac, but he will be able to clean up the Widow Mines. Well, that's a dead Stalker.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
Well, third expansion. That is not how you want to scout out a third expansion. Like, you fly your Medivac back over, and you're like, wait. Oh, God. Actually, he did force out no Photon Overcharge, though, so there's that.
Yeah. I guess still, though, that's not, you're right, that's not a good thing to scout, you know, and it's also getting kind of saturated at 61 probes. Like, oh, I don't like that feeling. Whereas, you know, where's his third CC? And in fact, he chooses not to make a third CC? Really?
I think that's his... Mothership Core?
That's his choice.
Yeah. Oh, God, the Mothership Core got really far out. I was getting a little bit worried over there. But, yeah, I guess is basically just committing himself to saying, I'm going to win the game right here.
SCV pool, then. Like, these 2-base SCV pools have gotten, like, they were rampant in IEM for whatever reason. I always hated them. They always had, like, the worst, either they were poor choices to begin with, or they were, like, poorly handled, you know, the SCVs, like, you know, everyone commented on those in IEM. But in this situation, if he had done it, he might have been able to do something. But he has no Vikings, so why would you SCV pool without any Vikings, you know? So it's just, now his third's gonna be so late, but I'll have upgrades. I don't know.
I can't tell. Like, I feel like Aigis is playing versus a Protoss that's on 2 base and like building up Colossus right now. That's what this feels like. Like he's getting his army kind of positioned around to try and do multi-prong harassment and stuff. You know, just kind of sitting back, powering up, getting out more Medivacs, maybe thinking about making Vikings at some point. But it's like a timer. He's on a timer before this economy starts paying off for the third. He's moving in. He might be able to do this. Any
force fields? No, just a Guardian Shield. Where's the Mothership Core that almost died? Needs a Photon Overcharge to, you know, Time Warp. Where are the Stalkers? They're supposed to help out these Colossus.
Oh, God. They were all sitting over in the main base, and they're starting to come in over here, but all of the probes over here are going to be dying now. State is still okay. He's at 48 workers, but he loses the third.
Well, that just completely changed everything. He got the army, he got the third, he got the probes. Like, any of those things, any one of those things don't go down, and I'm like, well, he evened it up. But since all 3 went down, he's actually like he's looking to actually just win this game. I mean, there's no army to stop him. There's force fields, but you lifted the main at that point.
Yeah, and there's a lot of medevacs to just lift up this entire army with. And there are the force fields. He's going to be able to segment. I mean, he segments off a decent chunk of this army. He's going to be able to kill off a little bit of it. And Photon Overcharge is going to be helpful as well. Luckily, he does have energy for that. But, I mean, how long is this really going to last? We got another Colossus coming out soon. That Colossus has got to be the saving grace here.
Yeah. And there is that drop that's talking about to the main where he's going to split the attention. Oh, he's going to drop on top of the Colossus also. Potentially a very good move.
Yeah. Focus fires them down, and with the Colossus gun, that was the saving grace again. That was the whole final hope for State. Throws that a scan just to make sure, okay, no DTs, no nothing, I got this. And he's gonna be able to push on in. Fortune Overcharge is doing some work, and State, he's starting to actually look like he might hold on over here, maybe?
The Marauders are just, they're too beefy, they're not going down.
I don't know, when we're warping rounds, like, there's some reinforcements coming in, yeah. Natural expansion's gonna go down.
Well, he's on a 1 base, and now Aigis, he did enough damage for sure to warrant getting a 3rd base, and that's what he's doing now. So now he did even more damage, and he is poised to win this game, including the Vikings as well. States, it was like a complete 180. If his entire army was in position, which granted never really is the case, like you're going to be wary of drops more than a final big hurrah versus the Terran, he would have actually held. Entire army ready to go. Yeah. Force fields ready to go. He would have held his 3rd, maybe lost a couple of probes, maybe even the 3rd was sniped. But the probes live and the army lives. And suddenly Aigis without a 3rd base is actually kind of in trouble. But it just flipped. Like Aigis suddenly was just like, yeah, I'm gonna win now.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, I mean, he has 3 observers out that have been like scouting around on the map, but I mean, they've all just been just barely outside of his base. I don't think that any of them gave him enough notice to say like, hey, my army in the main base needs to move over to the 3rd. You don't really have time for that. Oh, God, what am I? Takes out the probe at the 3rd. That's just like one of those extra delays that just frustrates you even further.
Yeah. Actually, when Aigis was setting up for the sandwich, he did scan ahead to check if there was an observer. So it was actually really well thought out by him. And, not to make Aigis seem like the ultimate Terran god right here, but this is what I imagined all the Korean pro gamers were trying to do when they were on 2 bases with Protoss at IEM. Because when I first saw it, I was like, I have hope. Like, maybe they'll start dropping everyone, go Super Saiyan mode. Maybe they'll get a really nice surround and actually, use their increased production, do something. And then they didn't, and they lost. So it was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
But, Aigis did, it perfectly. That was, a perfect, not reaction, just, decision. There you go. Decision to do that. Oh,
yeah, it's sort of funny because again, we don't really see a lot of even the really good players do that. They instead go for the SCV pull or something, and they just run in. And Aigis apparently showing I was definitely thought oh man, what is Aigis doing? This doesn't seem like it's gonna work out, but works out perfectly. And now he's gonna move in over here. Is the army of State even gonna be in position over here? Oh, he's listening to some Colossus, maybe trying to force Aigis back, scare him a little bit, maybe soak up some of the Viking hits, but I don't know. This 3rd expansion looks pretty vulnerable right now.
Yeah. I mean, the Vikings weren't even plentiful in number anyways. Good force fields go down. Yeah. The Colossus, the Hussein Colossus goes down. That's really nice. Yeah. 2 Colossus still live, but all the fodder is gone, and Blink Stalkers, they're not very good fodder.
Yeah, they don't last quite as long. He's going to be able to stem up over here. GG gets called, and Aigis going to be taking game number 2, bringing him 1 point away from match point. Sorry, no, it's a best of 7. Best of 7. Sorry. Premier match. 2 games away from match point. So still got some games left over.
Yeah, but I cannot believe how much of because the first game I felt really good for Aigis. I was like, oh, his TVP is in top form. That's good to see.
Yeah.
In the beginning of second game to the mid game, I was like, oh, maybe not. Maybe last game was just easy, but that complete reversal is just oh, okay, no, Aigis does have really good TVP.
Yeah, exactly. And oh god, I'm just the way that played out. I was thinking maybe State. I mean, after showing that the numerous holds that he had at that gold expansion, or even his 3rd and 4th expansion in game number 1 on Overgrowth, I was thinking you know what? Maybe if there's anyone that can try and bring this back, it's State. Just play ultra defensive, just constantly have your units in position. But again, it came back to that positioning. State just wasn't in position for any of those engagements. Even that last one, I mean, the Army got completely up onto the high ground of that third. They got the full kind of concave setup going even into the middle line. Sure, the Nexus kind of messed with things a little bit, and there was obviously the Vikings getting picked off. But for the most part, I think that Igus is like relatively happy with how that engagement, that final engagement ended up going. So State, it goes to show like how important, what the big difference it is when you have your army in position and when you don't for those engagements.
Yeah, the hardest thing about being Protoss for sure. Splitting correctly, getting good eyes on the field. When you're not allowed the time to get like 3-4 observers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the interesting thing. He had a couple of the observers already out when the push came in, but I don't know if he maybe should have shifted them to be further out on the map so he'd have like more time to respond, or what. Like it's a really hard decision to make, because if you put them too far out on the map, well, what if they just like take a different path, or something else happens, like they just get sniped off and your opponent doesn't come in. There's all kinds of things that can kind of go wrong with that. So it's a hard decision to make, but at the end of the day, ends up not working out too well for State, and we're going to see whether or not he can make a couple of changes and bring himself back in this series as we jump into the next game over on the map, Deadwing. And spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the red Terran player leading it up 2-0 with some fantastic play. It is Root Gaming's Igus.
In the top right, as the blue Protoss, it's State.
This is a weird and random thought, but okay, this is game number 3, right? Overgrowth, we had Igus on the bottom and State on the top.
Mm-hmm.
Last map, we had Igus on the bottom and State on the top. This game, we have Igus on the bottom, State on the top. Australians confirmed, always spawning from the down under.
And winning?
Yeah, exactly. Always spawning from the land down under and winning.
It's the Australian blessing plus the root blessing, as we talked about earlier. So I just really can't lose this series.
It's actually confirmed impossible. I mean, State's been trying really, really hard.
Yeah. But, did you catch that one game we cast as Xenocider at?
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's right. You
talking
did.
About the crazy one? The crazy one?
So like same magic though, right? Like yes.
Yeah.
Xenocider can't lose on Van Eye even when he should have, and so Igus says double the magic power. He's still gonna win.
Life finds a way, both in every form. But all right, we got a gas opening coming out from Igus this time, so we're not gonna be seeing any kind of 3 racks opening like we saw in Overgrowth.
Mm-hmm.
At least it doesn't look like. But Deadwing is a fairly different map than some of the other maps. This is one of those maps that like normally I would say, oh yeah, taking 3 bases, super fun, super easy. But this map, oh God, I just have nightmares of the drop potential when you get to 3 or 4 base for Terran players, just like dancing between your bases. You try and get your units in position.
Well, as far as maps go, this isn't like the worst for it, right? Like that's Catalina, which is still in the map.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that's terrifying for State. But he chose Expedition Lost, and I was very excited to see if he had something specific planned. I would say a proxy star gets very specific to Expedition Lost.
Yeah.
So I was a little disappointed, even though he looked okay in the beginning of the game, anyways. But as it goes for Deadwing, I'm feeling pretty good for him. If he can actually get that third base up nice and comfy with a decent attack position, then that's fine. But the same deal, like Igus could also. He showed us a couple of different builds. He went for Raxes, he went for the Wood on Mine drop. Here, he could go for Raxes again, do absolutely nothing, which sounds like the worst thing you can do against a Protoss. But then suddenly you're up by 40 supply just because nothing has gone on in the game, and you just steamroll. Yeah. Like that has happened in quite a few games. It's not what people tell you the matchup is, but it'll happen. Terran will just get like 17 Vikings, and you have 4 Colossus. You think you're good, you're not.
Yeah, and Igus is actually one of those players that, I mean, I don't know if this series has really shown it quite as much, but he's one of those players that I always looked at and I was like, this guy has a really good macro. He's really good, pretty good like late game play. So I could definitely see that as a possibility. We do end up having the Reaper popping on in. There should be a Mothership Core to deal with it. wherever that mothership core is sitting at the natural. Gonna have to use some nice probe micro.
Yeah, that was nice enough. Stalker pops out too to help. Oh, if he gets the... Oh, nice. Very, very nice. So what has Aigis scouted so far? You saw the Robo. I mean, that is probably the least dangerous thing you can scout, all right? If you saw a Twilight Council and Reaper dies, you're like, oh, I can't scout if the Dark Templar went down. I can't scout if, like, 6 Gateways went down. The Robo is only scary because of what we talked about earlier, that Immortal Sentry pushes have gotten a little bit more popular versus Terran again. But it's cross-position Deadwing. Like, would that really be your choice?
Yeah, usually if you see a Robo in this situation, you're just thinking like, okay, he's more likely than not gonna play a bit more passive because he's either going up for like fast Colossus tech or maybe he's getting out like a War Prism to try and do some harassment, but it's gonna be like light harassment. It's gonna be like dropping Zealots or maybe like DTs or something into your base, but it's stuff that you can pretty much just kind of sit back and say like, okay, I have some time to macro up. I don't really have to worry about like an Oracle flying into my base or like Blink Stalker is just like pounding on the aggression at the front.
Yeah, exactly. It's, you know, I was trying to get to, but we do have an Immortal on the way. So at once upon a time, TVP or PVT rather, you would get an Immortal just because you didn't think you could survive long enough to get to Colossus without it. So it was, it was defense. But now, no, not with a Mothership Cannon, not with how good players are nowadays. If you get an Immortal, it's because you're going to do the Immortal push. So I don't know. This might be the perfect thing to do against someone who's not expecting it because it's cross-position Deadwing, like mind games here. But the Hellions might scout this. There's a drop. There's Hellions at the front. There's no way they don't scout an Immortal.
Yeah, Observer does see the Hellions, and he had a pro position over at the 3rd, looking like he wanted to take it. He actually warps in a couple sentries, so maybe he's planning to just force field these Hellions in, get them trapped, and then do something with it? I don't know. Well, the drop is going to go to the main base, though. And there's just not enough units to really split up right now.
Nice force field to start, though. So he's going to lose a Pylon. He might lose the Immortal, actually. I don't know why the Immortal's coming to help.
Well, I guess Immortal actually does really well against these guys, I think.
Well, not if it was completely alone. I didn't think that the Photon Overcharge is going to help too, but it did. So there's constant, underestimating the stupid Photon Overcharge. But yeah, you're right. That actually was a good split then. And the Hellions don't do anything.
This Immortal in the main base, though, taking on apparently good enough to scare off the Marines, although the Marines actually may just be going for that Mothership Core in the 3rd.
I think it's a better choice. I mean, again, Immortal by itself, yeah, it still dies, but the Mothership Core is going to be... That's going to be later defense, against drops, which he might be looking towards. But, the 2 Immortals didn't mean an Immortal, and apparently. He got the gases, he continued making probes, he got the 3rd base. So he is just playing a little bit odd, And I did mention that State has a couple of specific State builds in each matchup.
Yeah, what's super interesting or super important to know also is even though State he lost a lot of those sentries, which obviously losing sentries in any position whatsoever is obviously not ideal, but he keeps the Immortals alive, which is going to help him with this big push out now. But what's not going to help him is the fact that the push out is going to come at the same time this drop moves back in.
So this 3rd is almost like a backup 3rd. Like you push and you hope to do damage while just extend your lead by getting a 3rd base. Well, now I won't have that. So this push is a little more dedicated.
Yeah. Managed to get the Photon Overcharge off in time. He doesn't have enough energy for another Photon Overcharge. He's trying to micro that guy away, but at the same time, the Immortals are now busting in. Actually, the bunkers aren't even completed. I don't even know if Aigis was looking at the front when this happened.
I don't know. He has nothing but Marines. Another warping of Zealots could really make this a lot worse to defend, but he pulls the SCVs. Again, a lot of Marine stim is not quite done. If Stim was done, that would be so helpful.
Pro's being pulled off the line. He cleans up the drop actually over at the front, and Sentry is going to be trying to force field a little bit, just trying to back up. He's doing a lot of damage over here, though. He's already killed off a decent number of workers, 15 workers dead so far. And behind this, I mean, Colossus are coming up. The 3rd expansion is finished.
That was so dangerous, though. If Stim was finished and the Medivacs paired up, he would have chased down the sentries, everything, because they don't have Blink.
Yeah.
That could have been so bad, but the Stim was just, it was so lucky for Sate the Stim was not going to finish up. So now he has a 3rd base. He didn't lose very many probes. And he has a good estimation as to what Aigis' army looks like, And the Colossus is on the way, so it's a splash that he needs. Oh, this is awkward.
Oh yeah. Well, didn't see anything. Don't worry about it. State is also going to be finishing up Blink by the time that these two medevacs come in. So with also knowing about it, he should be more than prepared to deal with it. And even if the medevacs drop over the low ground, even if the Immortals and the Colossus aren't enough, then he can still blink those Stalkers down to the low ground. So should be pretty prepared for it. But I guess looking to maybe move in, trying to get some damage done on multiple fronts. We'll see if he can make it work.
Goes to the third, actually. All right. The Mothership Core is brand new. The Blink Stalkers actually blink down. He's going to lose quite a few, to be honest, but he does target down the medevacs. This attack does not work out very well.
Yeah, even over with the natural expansion, he tries to poke in over there, just ends up losing a handful of units to the Colossus and some nice force fields, and State just gets further ahead. He's leading an army supply, and his army is just better and more cost-effective. I mean, we still don't have Viking production started as well. That's also worth noting.
Yeah, that's actually looking kind of bad for Aigis. I mean, Stage is getting more and more units, so splitting's going to become easier and easier. Eventually, he's going to get to High Templars, and then defending drop is going to be like easy peasy. He really is losing out on times where he can abuse, and there's no expedition loss sandwich maneuver on Deadwing. Your third is right there.
Yeah. Well, I guess had a +1 weapons lead on State for a little bit, but I mean the +1/+1 finishing up for State now as well, so he's leading up over there. Drop in the natural expansion, we'll see how much damage it can do, but I mean it's not followed up by another drop of the third or any kind of pressure or anything, but even if it was, State is ready for it with those Stalkers. So what is Aigis' game plan? He's, I guess, just try and macro up, get up a third, and hope that you can hold off until 200-200?
Yeah, basically, I would say, you know, dropping lightly to both scare and to keep tabs on your opponent, but
yeah.
I would have really liked if he had held off, maybe. Actually, he's not producing any more SCVs, so as his main mine's out, maybe he's probably thinking, I'm going to transfer these SCVs and still have good saturation, technically, you know, being on such a low SCV count. But he did get both tech at the same time, and that's very expensive.
Yeah.
4 Vikings, Ghosts. I mean, Ghosts are... People, like, you don't play Terran don't realize how expensive Ghosts are.
Oh, yeah. Ghosts are super expensive. You'll learn this if you ever try and do, like, a Fun Day Monday or a Jack Attack challenge, challenge accepted, and try and go for, like, nukes. They are really hard to make a lot of.
Yeah.
And I guess he's going to be losing out on his army to do it. Oh.
Fools you boys. All right, so that's your other choice, right? You either try and be like really defensive, macro-oriented, and win the game at a maxed out pace, or you just straight up attack and hope that you hit a really sick timing. And honestly, he's attacking before Storm's ready. Maybe he can do something.
Does he have enough Vikings?
I don't think
9
so.
Vikings.
No,
but
no. You need. I mean, you would actually want there's usually like 12 to 3 Colossus is a good count, but if you're all lining, you'd actually want so many that they just they're almost one-shotting the Colossus. You need to get those Colossus down before they deal any damage.
I think EMPs if you can EMP the sentries though, I mean, like, maybe this can still work out. There's only a couple of Zealots. There's actually not that many. EMP does go down on the sentries after Guardian actually gets thrown up.
Oh, God.
Colossus are gonna get picked off. The Stalkers aren't focused firing down the Vikings, and actually, I guess this is really weird. He's gonna lose most of his army, but he's starting to push on through.
It looks like he might just push on through. I was actually like, oh, he barely didn't kill a Colossus. I thought that was actually going to lose him this game. It still might. As another Colossus pops out, that's going to be enough to clean up the rest of Aigis' force. GG.
State holds on. State the defender. He holds strong. And finally puts himself on the scoreboard, bringing the series 1-2. But, yeah, really, I don't know. The pull was, I don't want to say questionable, because I can see like where it almost could have worked out. But like State, he wasn't focus firing down, he wasn't like using his Stalkers and like focus firing down the Vikings, and he still managed to hold on. Like he didn't get any like force fields down to like stop the bio from cutting back. Like a couple of things that like didn't really go well for State, but he still holds on over there. So it like could have gone even worse for Aigis in that situation.
Yeah. Well, that was, if I'm Aigis, I would just be like, oh, it's Deadwing. Like, all right, he gets that map, but let's go on to like Catalina.
Yeah. Of course, there are also, it's a best of 7, so there's no bans. Like I want to note, if any player wants to do it, as we actually get our cameras back on. If any player does want to do it, there is actually the potential to just pick Infernal Pools. That is a part of the map pool.
Van Eye.
Nobody can ban it. All right, Van Eye. Okay, players are gonna be mannered, not pick the awesome Infernal Pools map that I'm so glad is still in the map pool. But if we can really quickly get word from our observer current TV, if we can see our cameras.
Oh.
So, looks like we're not getting the cameras just quite yet. We'll try and get those up very, very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. Skype, of course, the vehicle of esports. It's actually more of like a unicycle. Doesn't move very fast. It's very easy to fall over, and nobody's really a big fan of using it for transportation. Maybe one day we'll find like a bicycle or a car or something we can upgrade to. But until then, we're gonna stick with Skype.
Well, I'm just gonna recall. So.
All right, let's sounds good. Let's do that. All right. Hopefully we're back at this point, and we're gonna be jumping into game number 4 between these two players. I guess leading it up 2-1. But Vonnie Research Station, you kind of mentioned that this was the next map pick. How are you feeling about this map?
I think this is also just like that natural, just screams drop me. Either drop me or hit me with mutas, if it's versus Zerg. So that might be Aigis' plan. He also might be planning on doing maybe an aggressive opener like a Proxy Reaper, which can be good on it. What else? What else is good about Terran on that? That's actually kind of what I'm predicting, but it's up to Aigis.
Yeah. One thing I've always kind of wondered, like I don't see it come into play very often, but there is that gold expansion that's out toward the center of the map. There's also like the 2 golds that are below your main base, but I've never actually seen it like really come into play. It looks like we're gonna have to regame for some reason.
State pick Terran.
Oh, okay, yeah. That would make sense. But yeah, like I've never actually seen like the gold expansion really come into play, and I always kind of wonder, like in a TVP, would either race ever want to grab it? I mean, if you're Protoss, you're just spreading yourself out even more on a map that, like, again, you have the natural that screams drop me and all that stuff. But as a Terran player, kind of also seems like it'd be difficult. Like if a Protoss is moving in, you have to you don't really have like a lot of room to like micro back your army and stuff. You kind of got to defend that position in the center of the map. It's kind of weird. So I can see why it doesn't get taken, but it would be interesting if someone found a way to take it.
Yeah, I think it's actually a pretty decent 4th for Terran, because that's your planetary anyways.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so it's not the safest, you're right, and it's still like the Warp Prism attack path is going to go over it, so that's always a risk, but not the same. Like, especially the way that these guys have been playing, there's never been a time where State can warp in 17 Zealots and insta, kill a planetary. Whereas for Terran, there's always that double medevac drop that can stim and kill a Nexus really quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, we'll see if anyone actually decides to take advantage of that. For the most part, though, I definitely agree with you on the whole, like, map screams drop me. Probably the reason why I guess would pick it if it is loser pick then in the series. But want to remind everyone, all the show matches, again, are happening on the Hitbox channel. You guys are watching this on Hitbox, most likely, unless you're watching, like, YouTube VODs or something. But do check out the Hitbox channel itself over on hitbox.tv/teamgravity, and you can actually check out the channel. We got the chat being hyperactive. Love all the communication in the chat. I know that we haven't been talking about it quite as much lately, but don't worry, guys. We are reading the chat and checking out all the awesome GIFs that you guys post. And, of course, if you do want to show support to Hitbox, go ahead and sign up. Start using the chats, just start talking, and of course also do consider subscribing to the channel for Team Gravity. You get a free $5 coupon for G2A, but with that all being said, let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players as we spawn up here. The top right, or top side of the map is going to be the red Terran player, still leading up the series 2-1. It is Aigis.
In the bottom position as the blue Protoss, it states...
So we actually do have a poll going on in the chat, and that's actually something that Hitbox provides. And it was a question of who's going to win this series. And we're like a couple of games in. I think almost everyone is voted at this point. And we actually have State leading up at 58%. So 58% thought State was going to win. It's kind of interesting to know. I guess sometimes, though, players kind of factor that in, like who they want to have win. So they'll vote for that.
Yes, of course. Well, it looks like I kind of predicted correctly. There is a second SCV on the way, though, so it's going to be a 2 racks and a Proxy Reaper, so something aggressive, though, right? And I like that choice. You're up 1 game. Van Eye is just some... I guess because it's very linear, 2 base, that it's just become the next popular, like, proxy, like, racks map, where Overgrowth used to be it, but it's gotten so played out that no one does it anymore.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty straight, like, run over to your opponent's side of the map as well, but...
Yeah.
Kind of interesting to note is in the past couple of games, it sort of depends on when the Marines are actually going to move in and kind of reveal themselves, but in the past couple of games, State has gone for the Cybernetics Core, and before he even lets that finish up, before he starts up a Mothership Core or anything, he has actually gone for the Nexus over at the Natural, so he doesn't start up the Zealot or do anything like that. If he does that again and he waits a little bit, it could be a bit problematic, but he actually is starting up the Zealot this game. Is he going to just cancel it, or...
Probably. So this is gonna get a little awkward. Where if Aigis goes in immediately, like doesn't bank up, then yes, he won't cancel the Zealot. Like he'll be like, oh, good thing I made the Zealot.
Yeah.
But if Aigis waits, then he will cancel the Zealot to get that Nexus a little bit sooner, and then he'll be in trouble.
That's what he's doing.
Was that a cancel?
Gets canceled.
That was.
Zealot gets canceled. And he's gonna plant down the Nexus, and this is gonna be super awkward because it's a Nexus that could have been that Zealot, it could have been an extra gateway, it could have been like so many different things, earlier, Stalker, whatever, but now we end up seeing SCV moving in. It's going to be initially starting that first bunker, but there's only 3 Marines. It's not too much just yet.
Yeah. Oh, that's, that proxy, not the proxy pylon, that pylon just in general is a little unfortunate. That is Nartosis pylon.
Yeah.
So that's going to be the first thing targeted down probably after the Probe die and the Mothership Core dies.
Oh, Probe's trying to mineral walk past, and they actually managed to catch most of the Marines. He loses a lot of workers over. He's actually falling behind in the worker count to Iga, so I mean, this has already done quite a bit of damage, especially considering the mining loss as well. But, oh god, the bunker finishes up in the main base. Both of them gonna finish.
But he can't get any Marines in there. Stay hold.
I don't know, like... Has it already been worth it? Well, he's gonna lose 2 workers over here.
So. Because Igus doesn't have a second command center.
Oh, that's true. He never canceled the Nexus. Oh my god, that National Expansion Command Center Nexus is gonna finish.
This is, I mean, if the game, unless Igus does something really drastic here, then it will go in a State's favor and he will even up the score.
So, okay, here's the thing. Like, as long as like he keeps that Mothership Core alive, Photon Overcharge, yeah, he's gonna be able to kill off this bunker.
Easy. So Igus throws down a 3rd barracks, which means that. Well, no, he actually. I thought he was gonna commit, like just continually produce, like pump out Marines, you know. But he throws in a command center as well, so it's gonna look like a regular build when the command center is done, but just so much less mining has actually happened. Right? I guess this is gonna be a little.
Oh my god, this is so cute over here. There's the bush that Igus is trying to exploit, but State actually finds like a small angle where he's like looking at. Through the bush at like a 40-degree angle or something. Like he's just kind of catching it over the edge, and he actually manages to do some nice damage over there. Gonna be able to pick off so many of these Marines have actually ended up losing their lives to the Stalker harassment from State. He's been doing a great job of it, and this hurts Igus' situation a lot because he has to play ultra defensive now because of it.
Yeah. Well, for now, he's scary enough. I know like 5 Marines so scary, right? That's the Stalkers aren't going over to the other side of the map, although the Mothership Core is. And Igus is trying to get away with a 3rd CC. Now, this will, I think, make it kind of an even game. So you have the Nexus being faster, but lower probes to begin with, compared to Igus eventually getting to 3 CC, and a pretty safe 3rd CC, too. It's Van Eye. That if he's allowed the time to get there, he'll have a better economy.
I mean, can't State just move across the map with the Stalker Zealot and, like, maybe even the Sentry if he wants to, and that plus the Mothership Core, like,
it would have done something.
I feel like he could actually do some damage over there.
Yeah, it would have. For sure. If everything was paired up together, the barracks weren't back
Yeah.
home yet. It was only one Rax, but that was the risk that Iagos was taking. And, you know,
Yeah,
even the
yeah.
bunker wasn't down immediately. It's still not down. So that could have done something. And that was definitely the scariest part, I think, for him, our Terran player. But it's passed. So now he's thinking, okay, what do I have to worry about after this? I got a third CC. I'm going to be good in about 5 minutes here. What do I need to prepare for until then?
Yeah, kind of makes sense. And of course, State didn't really have knowledge about like where Iagos was cutting quarters until the Mothership Corps actually moved in and saw like, wait a second, you really don't have that much over here right now. Like you have 2 or 3 Marines, but Mothership Corps, it does get the scout off on the command center. C is more or less where Iagos. Well, actually, he doesn't see the 3rd CC, and he doesn't see like any of the extra barracks. He actually didn't get much of a scout off actually.
No. So this 3rd CC might be quite a surprise, and that's, again, good for Iagos, right? But the Oracle is going to try and do some damage, but that is one of the things that our Terran player is thinking of with how do I survive for the next 4 minutes when my economy gets back up? Well, I got to protect against ZTs and Oracles, so 200 minerals sounds like a pretty worthwhile investment.
Yeah, Iagos is cutting all the right corners and getting away with it, covering himself on all the other locations. Oh, actually, I like this. Hallucinated Oracle moves into the main base while the other Oracle may be moving in or getting ready to move in. He doesn't quite move in. Actually, did he see? Well, I guess he saw a missile turret in the main base. He might just be assuming, like, probably got a missile turret at the natural. Might as well, like, save up my Oracles and try and surprise you.
Yeah, I think he wanted that hallucinated Oracle to pop a Widow Mine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that would actually be sick.
Okay, 2 Oracles are going to get the Edge SCVs, but actually really nice reaction time for Iagos. Now, is State going to take a 3rd base? It looks like he is. He's going to have 400 minerals. Because I was going to say, you know, these are all tactics that you can defend easily against, basically. 2 missile turrets, again, did enough damage, or did enough defense that, okay, next. But a Colossus all-in would have been something that, you know, static defense wouldn't help you with. You would need the production.
Yeah. Well, really important to note also, these Oracles, they're like dancing around. They've seen a lot of the production. They still haven't seen the command center. But they did see like a really delayed starport, so maybe that's kind of revealing?
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
don't
sure.
know. See, State just put down a bunch of tech buildings and gateways as opposed to the third Nexus, which I'm a little like, you could have put down that 3rd Nexus. Like, that's too bad, but that's what you get from not scouting that 3rd CC very early.
He
And
sees
now he
it
sees
landing.
Right? Like,
He's gonna kill off the missile turret.
yeah, okay, but your 3rd Nexus, if you had known that 3rd CC was down, it could have been finishing up right now. Like, you didn't have to rush up to your own Colossus to defend against a potential, like, Doom drop because they thought they were behind. Like, that's... It's still not totally bad, but this game has evened out after this opener.
Yeah, definitely. We see a lot of more warp gates coming down for State, so he's gearing up for the later stages of the game. Whether or not he can actually put on pressure right now, though, that's kind of questionable. I mean, I guess obviously cut a lot of corners, but his production is like starting to get, it's there now. He's built his reactors, he's built his tech labs, he's making all the units he needs to, and actually, I guess is going to be the one that's trying to try and put on the pressure.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've got to say, State has done a great job of keeping those 2 Oracles alive, so he should be able to identify, like, where's your army? Wait a second, you had an army here a second ago.
Yeah, that's a good point. So hopefully he's defended against this. I mean, he has an observer scouting it, so that's that drop shouldn't do him a lot. But I mean, this is like the 5 minutes that Iagos needed. He's back to being in good form, and in fact, a little bit ahead, honestly. And it's just too bad that they didn't get that nice, perfect scout. Because I'm 100% sure his game plan would have looked a lot different. How did he not see this?
Those Oracles just barely didn't see it, and all of the units are over at the 3rd expansion. Oh my god, it's not McGrum. This map.
Oh, his production's not quite done either. How many games does he have? Oh, there's 6 in the main base. Okay.
Yeah.
But no Mothership Core.
Units, but...
No Mothership Core.
Oh, is this Nexus gonna die?
It is. It's just he's
Oh my
got to give it
God.
up, kind of. Like, oh, no.
Well, Oracle buys a little bit of time. Photon Overcharge is not enough. Oh god, Probe's even gonna be killed over here as he's busy dealing with the pushing over at the 3rd. He managed to kill off most of the units over there, but he's just lost so many units over here as well as workers.
Yeah, very nice attack from Iagos. And it's still not done either. You can start taking on the pylons. That's 3 more gateways out of production. These stalkers cannot take on that army. What are they even trying to do?
Just trying to buy time. Blink, actually, some good Blink micro actually keeps all the suckers alive. Loses one of them over there, but Oh god, I guess he's just playing this out perfectly. He's focus firing down the probes as they continue to try and long distance mine. Wouldn't mind shot. I don't know if that was intentional State to dodge that wouldn't mind shot or just trying to go after the medevac, but he dodges it regardless.
Yeah. So now Aigis, who is already kind of looking ahead after getting that greedy third CC, is looking even farther ahead. He's up in workers, he's up in army, he's up in upgrades, and in fact, State has just he's neglecting his upgrades now, either on purpose or because he forgot.
Yeah, I mean, when you're dealing with that kind of like, oh god, I lost my natural, and you know there was a push in at the third, and like you're losing units and workers. Sometimes it can be one of those situations. Blink. Focus fires the units instead of the medevacs. Now these stalkers are actually just gonna die.
Yeah, I don't know who that trades out better for. This all the stalkers.
I think it's Aigis, right?
I don't know exactly because the Vikings aren't here quite yet. If they were, it'd be like 100%. But there's 2 now popping out soon.
Huh.
Uh-oh.
Wow. Could this army actually do some serious
damage? I think it could.
Well, he hallucinates at Colossus. That's already going to soak up quite a few shots, especially considering it's on the side where the army is, so it's definitely going to be the first one focus fire down. And force seals go down. Oh my god, this is actually going beautifully for State.
This is really nice. I mean, that charge finished for him, but he's not even bothering warping in any zealots. None of the real Colossus have gone down. There's only 2 Vikings in the air.
Even the hallucinated Colossus is still alive.
This is actually looking like State's game. There's just not enough counter to what State is doing. I mean, it seems like this actually was State's plan all along. Like, the natural going down always will hurt, but he's preparing for a very dedicated attack.
Pulls back the 2 real Colossus. Hallucinate Colossus does end up falling. And even though Aigis has a really nice concave going over here, he just doesn't have the units anymore. And the Colossus dealing the damage they need to, he pushes on through. These Colossus sitting on 17 kills, 14 kills. The Vikings are just unable to do anything.
Yeah. Looks like one will finally go down, but GG. Wow, Stage.
Doesn't matter if you snipe his Nexus. He's still got the game plan. He's just still got the units to push on in.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the lack of Vikings really, really hurt.
Yeah. And it was kind of interesting, right? Because he was getting, like, it was understandable he was getting up his second starport, he was getting up his reactor, but he was also just, like, adding on a ton of barracks before that. Like, there were a bunch of things he was doing, before actually starting to get up the Vikings. He was building additional barracks and getting up the tech labs and reactors and everything instead of getting up those Vikings, instead of starting up that second starport or getting up the reactor a bit earlier. So it's, I guess, like, he was cutting a lot of corners in the early stages of the game, and it was like in the early game he was cutting all the right corners and being prepared in all the right ways. But I guess, like, maybe he started cutting too many corners, like cutting the wrong corners eventually.
Looked like it. He has been, I think, in most of these games, if not all of these games, been kind of slow on the second starport. So yeah, stuff like a 2-base Colossus all in, or in that case, a 3-base Colossus all in turned to a 2-base, would catch him off guard.
Indeed. Well, we're going to be moving into game number 4. The series is tied up 2-2, so only a maximum of 3 games left. 3 games left over.
Yeah, it's 4-7.
Yeah. Okay. Not going crazy. Game number 5. And the next map is going to be Secret Spring. So we're starting to get, this is the best part, because this is the part where we start getting into the maps that neither of these players really wanted really badly.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Secret Spring, Infernal Pools. Like, we're going to start getting to those maps. I'm trying to think of what the last map is.
Catalina.
Oh my god, Catalina. Well, I don't think Aigis is going to be complaining too much about Catalina.
Yeah.
Well, Secret Spring, even Secret Spring, it really does sort of feel like a weird map. Like, you got the in-base expansion that can be dropped, but if you, like, when you grab your third as a Protoss player, like, it's you sort of end up covering your third expansion or your natural expansion. You get that nice little area, the kind of triangulation of like, oh, well, if I defend my main base and my third, I'm defending my natural as well. So, like, it's a really weird map, but
yeah,
I don't know. I haven't seen that many games on this map.
Yeah, exactly. It's the last one. Like, it's vetoed on ladders, vetoed in tournaments. But I would really love, actually, if State went ahead and just did completely different here and went for, like, an in-base proxy. It's quite popular on Secret Spring to begin with because it's actually a surprisingly short map. It just looks really big. And it just hasn't done anything in that way. I mean, there was the one proxy Stargate, but that's like 2-raxing for Maru, right? Like that's just an opener.
Yeah.
Whereas,
Has Aegis been walling off though? I feel like Aegis has been playing against first supply. He's been playing against first supply depot at the ramp, right? Like when you go for the MPS proxy.
Yeah. Then that would be very dangerous.
Yeah. You usually are like depending on your opponent, not building their buildings over at the ramp. If there's a Terran player that's building their buildings over by their base, and you sneak the probe on in, and it's like, well, what are the chances they're going to scout their entire like main base and all of their natural expansion? Yeah. We'll see if it ends up if he does decide to go for something like that. But regardless, we are going to be spawning down over here, or up over here, I should say, in the top right-hand corner of the map. We've got the red Protoss player. Just to even up the series, it is State.
And in the bottom left, as the blue Terran, it's Roots Aegis. Okay, so no proxy.
No.
Like you said, it is pretty dangerous because if they do put it at the front, then you're okay. Not a proxy.
Maybe there is a proxy.
But a proxy from Aegis again. All right, so 2 in a row. This might be the Reaper. No, it's already past 8.
Maybe he's just really, really concerned about what State's up to, and he wants to send out a very early SCV scout.
Yeah, totally.
And he's not sure where the spawn locations are on this map, so he's sending it to the wrong location.
Right, yeah, because he's a pro and doesn't know anything.
Yeah, of course.
All right, though. So the second SCV does go back home, so this is going to be 1 Rax. Gotta have a gas then come down. Where's the gas geyser?
Yeah, gas geyser can come down a little bit later on, and there it is. So, okay, is this going to be a proxy Reaper? Is it going to be proxy Marauder? Like, what is the plan here?
I mean, I keep expecting them to do Reapers, but that's like an 888 is the usual way to go for proxy Reapers, and they just keep going past that 8 mark, and I'm like, oh, all right then. But proxy Marauder versus Protoss is just not, it's not used anymore, like, at all, I want to say.
Yeah, so I'm trying to like logic my way through this, because as you're saying, like, it's not used anymore. I'm trying to like remember, why isn't it used? I mean, let's see, Mothership Core would obviously put a huge hindrance in the plan, right? Because the Mothership Core just like kills the Marauder.
Yeah.
And just kind of, it's like continuous damage. Well, it is going to be a Reaper for that reason, it looks like.
This makes much more sense than a Marauder proxy, but it wasn't an 888, so it was a little bit more economical, I guess you could say. So this is going to be quite annoying to deal with for States. The Zealot, I mean, he might get it just to have something else for the Reaper to shoot at, but it won't really help out that much, and they won't be able to kill the Reaper.
Yeah, so okay, is he going to cancel? Because he's canceled in all the previous games, and there is the cancel.
Yep.
It makes you wonder, like, if the Zealot is getting canceled before the Proxy 2 Rex, if it's getting canceled before the Proxy Reaper, why even make the Zealot?
He's gonna go to double Reaper after this. I really like this then. And this also would like kind of explain that it wasn't an 888. Was that he was gonna follow up, which is basically a 2-Rax Reaper, but the first Rax is proxy, not the second.
Oh god, this Reaper is gonna be so annoying with that high ground. I mean, this is actually just, now that I look at it, like the map layout, because you have that high ground you could just jump to very easily, so close to the mineral line, it's a great map for this kind of Reaper harassment.
It's absolutely terrible for Protoss with 2-Rax Reaper. I mean, there's a reason that 2-Rax Reaper has actually kind of come back in versus a lot of different races. Every single one actually even came back versus Zerg.
Reaper's going to be able to survive a little bit longer and start to regenerate that health. The Mothership Core actually going after the full health Reaper. This other Reaper, going to be coming back in. Stalker's on the way, though, or one Stalker already out now. Second Stalker on the way. I love this walling in over here for the Cybernetics Core, and he actually forces the Reaper into the mineral line, gets the surround over there. And the thing about like these Reaper openings is that you want to really try and let them... I mean, you try and get some nice damage done. He does get some okay damage done. I guess he's killed off 5. Okay, 5 workers is pretty good.
Okay, so I guess the second Rax going down before the command center may have just been like, he just wanted units, like, you know, I actually want to be able to defend, should he be able to attack, which is certainly a valid idea. But he does expand. He's sending that barracks back over. He's going to be on 4 barracks off of, like 1.5 bases, I'll say. A bunker is going down because I think he saw this Stalker move out of the base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that extra second barracks before the command center is definitely going to be paying off over here, because that means he's going to have that extra kind of marine production that's been going on back at home. Fortunately, the bunker is not finished, and it is not going to finish. And now, oh, actually, is this going to supply block him? I think it is.
Yes, it will. He already has enough coming out of the barracks, though, that I think he'll be okay. It is a really good thing that he got the second barracks before
there's
the
enough energy for a time warp. These stalkers could theoretically start, like, doing some serious damage to the Marines.
He just needs to pull some SCVs, not get choked in. There you go.
There's the time warp, and he's killing off a lot of these Marines, and the mothership core is taking damage, but I think all the Marines are gonna die over here, and the stalkers are even be able to get getaways. Micro stalkers.
4 more Marines have to pop out, though, and that's enough to deal with everything.
Yeah, but okay, he's killed off 4 workers.
Get the mothership. Oh no! Now I can't.
No.
Oh, it sucks.
Okay, so State kills off a couple of workers, kills off a lot of the Marines, but I think also, like, really important to note is the fact that he sees it's all barracks production right now. There's no factory that's been thrown down until just now, so that does allow State. I mean, we're talking about cutting corners that Aigis was doing last game. When you know that there's not going to be medevacs out for a little bit longer, that's when Protoss players can start to cut corners.
That's true. Now, there's enough Marine production node that he's going to have to worry about popping a Photon Overcharge.
Yeah.
You know, this is kind of a typical Marine push, just, you know, weirder beginning scenarios. But the second CC is finished. He did lose 10 SCVs with that little poke, or 11, actually. So that was really nice, but, you know, he was on...
Sentry force field.
Double CC the entire time. All right, now the Sentry isn't really going to be able... Well, it might be able to stop the Marines from getting in the probe line. Well, until it uses a Guardian Shield. All right.
Well, there's 2 probe lines, right? Like, I mean, there's the Photon Overcharge, and...
Oh, no. Don't lose your mothership. Just saying, just be careful.
Well, I think these Marines just forfeit. I mean, they just forfeit their lives. They kill off either the mothership or... Oh, they don't get that, but get the Sentry. This was not worth it, though, for Aigis, I think.
Man, if he had gotten the mothership, I actually think it would have been, even if I got everything else. But just the Sentry was... It's, you know, it's still a lot of gas, Sentry or mothership core, but you don't have to replenish the Sentry, and the Sentry's not going to be absolutely instrumental against the drops, where mothership core definitely is. So, but we have a Dark Shrine on the way, as well as a War Prism, so very akin to that Overgrowth game.
Yeah, unakin to that Overgrowth game. We also got a hidden expansion at the bottom right from State. This is... I love this. I really, really love seeing players go for, like, these hidden expansions, just especially in, like, a game that's kind of had a sort of weirdish opening with, like, the proxy and everything. It's sometimes hard to get a good read on exactly where your opponent should be in the game, because it's not like, oh man, well, I mean, we both opened up one Rax and one barracks expand, etc. Like, it's not like you have hundreds and thousands of games of, like, the exact same thing happening. You don't necessarily always know and are able to identify, like, wait a second, you should have, like, a couple more units over here. What's going on?
The missile turrets are in a very odd position. It's I guess it makes sense for the main base because it's protecting the production too, but it's the same thing in the natural, and that just looks weird.
Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I mean, it's like it's gonna detect everywhere, but it wouldn't protect against, like, an Oracle or something from the bottom side. I guess it kind of just goes to show he really is concerned specifically about DTs, and rightfully so.
Yeah, that's true. Well, State follows it up with Double Forge. I believe he did that in 2 of the last 4 or 5 games that we've cast. We have a drop, though, for both sides. One's going to be cleaned up a lot easier than the other, I feel.
Yeah, DT moving in. It's already getting 3 kills. We can, you know, delay this expansion. Oh, War Prism actually just bailed. The DT is just like, wait, let me back.
Oh, kind of a wasted scan. That sucks. But the double drop goes into the main, actually, not the natural. He's going to be able to target down that Immortal for sure.
Well,
where are the units?
He has the mothership there. He can Photon Overcharge, but... Oh, Photon Overcharge is not really going to protect these forges. One of the forges is going to go down, but he's doing some good damage to the... Oh, there's the DT Warpin. Oh, I love these DT Warpins.
Dirty,
Immortal gonna survive too.
Especially against Marines, where they one-shot them. That is super dirty.
Exactly. Well, got another double medevac actually loaded up over here for Aigis. Not both of them full, but where did the War Prism get sniped off? It did.
Oh, wow. I don't know where that happened. Or I mean, that's a pretty big mistake for State. That is all of his aggression. But it is lucky that his third base is secret, because if it was a normal third base, that aggression stops, and so does his third.
Oh my god, this observer. It sees just these 4 medevacs chilling in the center of the map. I wonder what Aigis could be planning. Oh god, this medevac on the bottom right. It does like the, oh, I'm gonna avoid going straight through the center because that's probably where you have an observer tactic. And if it had just gone all the way to the bottom right, you would have seen the hidden expansion. Oh, that's a shame.
How did that stalker shot reach? Oh, come on. Well, at least it was
Terran
empty.
salt is real.
Yeah, at least it was empty.
Drop in the main, and probes are pulled relatively quickly. There is a Widowmine in the mix as well. Good. Oddly enough, not something I see very often go off on the Colossus.
Yeah. Deals enough to the shields, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, more drops are loaded up, so Aigis is going very drop heavy is kind of his tactic for this plan, and you know, it's such a good plan, but not for this specific scenario.
Yeah.
You're like, man, I'm keeping them off a third. Like, their tech's gonna be slower because I killed a forward. I must be doing pretty good. Like, you know, 2 base versus 2, actually 3 to be 3.
Yeah.
But no, State's actually saturated his third base pretty well as both gas geysers, and you don't know about it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's a thought. I mean, there's not that big of an army in the main base, and if we end up having all, wait a second. I guess you're moving down with your medevacs.
I know. I was
Do
about
you
to say,
smell something?
Is he starting to get a little suspicious?
Well, no. I think he's setting up for the double. He's setting up for the drop in the natural expansion as well as the main base. I want to say. Oh, actually, State is moving out with his army. The Stalkers are positioned at the natural expansion to try and deal with this, but I think that. Oh, Aigis. Moving out with medevacs. Aigis. You're so close.
He's gonna be checking the golds and the outlying bases really soon though. Like, this has gone on far enough where he hasn't even tried to take a third. Like, no fake probe could be what tells Aigis there's a natural or a third.
But you see, he sees State moving out to the expansions and he sees him clearing out stuff. He might just think that State finally feels safe. And if he does, then there's a good chance that he might continue like light medevac production or harassment. But he might just move back, anticipating that there's going to be a big attack, that State has been sitting on 2 base for so long that this is the time where he's going to try and equalize the game. Because Aigis knows he has his own third expansion up. This could backfire really heavily.
Yeah. Well, even though, like, he got away with that third base for a very long time, Aigis still isn't doing so bad. He's still up by 40 supply, like even income now. There's actually it was a lot better for State, who its Secret Spring and a third base is just plain old impossible against drops.
Yeah.
But it still wasn't like a big enough boon to be like, oh, he's gonna win the game now. Actually, it's just equal.
Yeah, exactly. Aigis is gonna be moving out, and he sees what is actually the 4th expansion, but probably thinks is the 3rd expansion going down. So maybe he's starting to feel like this is the time where, hey, my opponent has not that big of an army. They've been sitting on 2 base for such a long time. This is where I can start to make it equalize. But really, I think it has more to do with the fact that State is just trying to tech up to high templates. I mean, he gets a cancel off in the 3rd. Does Aigis continue on? Does he feel confident about his situation now? Oh my god, this gold. Really, State?
Oh, that's gonna be found out. That can't survive for very long.
Really, I don't know. With how bad Aigis' luck has been. Oh, he's sending the Vikings around. He's checking he's checking bases.
Yeah, well, it should. It's like, man, 2 bases this long and you got that army? No.
Oh god. That one Viking is gonna land, try and do some harassment over there, but the double medevac is really what's going to be over there.
There we go.
Oh, DT's warped in. I like this. This is actually going to be helpful against the drops as well.
Yeah, that's true. But the Viking, you know, at least it scouted it. Scouts the gold base.
Yeah.
I mean, all the bases are found out, and this is where hidden expansions go wrong.
Feedback!
You can't protect them.
Well, feedback goes down. Protects one of those, protects against the medevac, but I mean, there is a double medevac going into the natural expansion as well, and State is wholly out of position for this one. I don't even know if he has warp gates off of cooldown right now to deal with this. Actually, even if he did, he's supply blocked.
Oh, well, that's pretty bad. He's gonna lose the natural then, and he should be losing these outlying bases soon enough. I mean, those ETs were pretty great at defending, but they can't do that forever.
Yeah, Stalkers have blink. They snap off one of the medevacs. That's nice. It might not seem like the biggest deal, but I mean, these medevacs are going to be a huge, huge hindrance for State feeling comfortable moving out onto the map right now. State does have a very scary army, though. He's got a lot of Colossus. He's got High Templars. And really, gotta be not on a regular move. State!
Wow. Well, okay, 3 Colossus, though, for an entire army? I don't know.
Does State just move across the map? Does he still just win this? And move across the map to... Really what is going on, Zombie Grub?
There's like no regular units right now. Vikings and Ghost is Agas's army, but he just, by taking out that specific part of the army, there's no drops to take down these bases anymore. Like,
oh god, the Stalkers found the drops.
Okay, a lot of Stalkers still go down though, so that wasn't too bad of a trade.
Yeah.
I can't believe he's gonna keep these army alive, and now he's gonna just directly focus on the right side of the map so that he will be able to defend his gold base.
Okay, and oh god, killing off those destructible rocks, opening up that path. This is actually so great for State. I just can't put on any pressure right now. He's got to defend. There's 10 High Templars, and State has done a great job in the past of dealing with those High Templars, microing them, making sure he doesn't just let all of them get EMP'd. Big storms going down immediately, preemptively. He's starting to split up those High Templars as well. God, he's already doing so much damage.
I don't think Gaius can survive this. The Vikings are all types of clumped up. Oh my god.
Oh, it's a massacre.
Wow.
Oh my god.
Wow.
So I'm just gonna wait for the stream to catch up so I can just see like the viewer count plummet as all of the Terrans rage quit the stream. Just be like, no.
Seriously.
No, I don't have to watch this. I don't have to put up with this.
That was just, oh my god.
That was disgusting. Okay, well, State, with the Protoss shenanigans, not necessarily the normal Protoss shenanigans, but the Protoss shenanigans, makes it work. After what looked like it was going to be an absolute devastating losing move of having his army on a regular move command past Agas's army, but the storms... Is that like a mind game that I should just start doing where I just pretend to have my army on move command so the Terran player is just like, oh man, what a vulnerable army. Let me stim up my entire army and move right on top of it before he realizes what's going on. And then just start, like, is that just a thing I can start doing now?
Yes, that is a thing you should start doing. No. But like, that was a lot of bio army for 3 Colossus. I actually would never, like, you know, I was a little like, maybe it was worth it, but I think the end game told us that it definitely wasn't.
Yeah. I don't know, like, was that just such a big army that State should have won like, if it was a regular engagement, State should have won anyways?
Because, like, if the entire army is ready to go and well-controlled as opposed to panicking, then Terran usually, I'd say, would win that fight. So when Terran panics that they're usually already too late, you know? That the Ghosts already die, the Vikings are already clumped up, and you're screwed. So, especially on Secret Spring, where State was literally going through the worst path possible to get EMP'd to hell. He just luckily found all the army before that happened.
That is actually a really good point. Like, if that army was engaged over at that choke, where State had to move through that big choke and come out into a giant concave where not only the EMP is there, but even just, again, like, the Marines and Marauders get a huge surround, like, Zealots aren't able to get that nice charge in, like, all kinds of things go wrong. Even the Vikings probably get a nice kind of engagement angle over the cliff. Like, I guess, yeah, probably does take that. But I don't know. It's such a weird situation. Like, you can't even blame Agas for being like, you have 2 expansions that are drastically out of position. I should be pressuring those. One of them is at like 25% health. I should be pressuring that. But I mean, some nice defense from State, like a nice feedback or two, some DT warp-ins. And he manages to hold on and actually get a great engagement. I don't even know what to make out of that.
Yeah. That's one of those, like, you got to have that type of build and game plan set up for a map like that, where it's otherwise just BS for Protoss. Like,
yeah,
exactly. You're either going to get a bad third and you're going to lose, or you're going to do the one thing they're expecting because it's a bad third, and that's all in. You know, and they're going to expect that. So the third option is to try and get a secret base, which actually worked out. That wouldn't happen again. If there was another terrible map, maybe Infernal Pools, for instance, you know, the first thing Agas does is send Marines out to every single base. He doesn't just say, like, this is kind of weird, but I think it's still a normal game.
Yeah. want to give a huge shout out, by the way, to Endry Flocks for actually subscribing to the Team Gravity Fight Night channel. Thank you very much, Endry Flocks. Of course, if you do want to subscribe as well, I'm just saying, like, you're actually not losing money. You're just putting it into GTA or G2A. If you actually want to buy anything on G2A, got some like great games and all that kind of good stuff over there. Like, you get a $5 discount on everything over there. So you're literally just transferring money from like, oh, well, I was going to buy a game anyways, so might as well. Just saying. But of course, a huge shout out, of course, to Hitbox as well. But Zavigrab, the moment I have been waiting for. The map I have been waiting for. All right, we don't see enough games on this beautiful, beautiful map. Looking forward to seeing it on this one. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players on Infernal Pools. We got the Protoss player spawned down in the bottom right-hand corner. It is State.
And in the bottom left, as the blue Terran, it's Roots Aegis. All right. So Infernal Pools has one interesting aspect in it, in that its thirds are terrible. No, is that that depending on the spawn locations, it can be an entirely different map. Really, I mean, not the same way that Waystation was, which was literally like an entirely different map, but like the game plan could be very different. If you're close, like these positions in TVZ, you'd usually give that to the Terran player. Easy access, easy push, easy rally, Marine rally. But in TVP, I would say that Aegis actually would have wanted the top right position for himself, so drops would have been easier.
Yeah, that's something really good to consider. Also, like, I want to note one kind of nice thing about this map that I've always liked for Terran players is it's hard for a Protoss player to put a lot of pressure on that island expansion. It's really hard. You get up like a missile turret or two or something, and oracles aren't really going to do much. You have to like invest into a warp prism, which means you're like stopping both observer and of course Colossus production, or maybe immortal if your name is State. So there's like a lot. It's actually kind of a commitment to try and deal pressure over there. And even then, you might not actually end up killing off. You might just do some nice damage, but then a medevac loads up and kills off your warp prism or like your harassment over there. So I would love to see Aegis trying to exploit that. The kind of weird thing that goes into that though is that you're actually expanding really, really close to your opponent when you take that island expansion. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, for these locations, yeah, that's true. A secret base at one of the golds also could be cool. Again, in this case, you couldn't get the one here secret, but the other one could be. That'd be nice to see. But the other kind of interesting aspect about Infernal Pools is that its natural base is huge. So you have a very long distance to run your SCVs to protect your bunkers, should you put the bunker at the very front of the natural. Or your other option is to not put them at the front of the natural and put them more around your command center. And you do risk then the Protoss or Zerg army just running past up to the ramp. So it can be a burden.
On the other actual hand of that though, because it's also such a big natural expansion, Terran players can also try and put on that kind of pressure. You know, you see like the Terran players who try and bait out early photon overcharge, and on some maps, yeah, like if you try and bait out the photon overcharge, you aren't even going to be able to move up the ramp. And it just becomes really difficult to actually ever move up the ramp after that. But on this map, you can move up the ramp and maybe even tease like, I'm going to go to the main base, you better photon overcharge. And if after they photon overcharge, you just sit back up on the high ground, wait until you get a couple more reinforcements, and then you go in afterwards again. Like, it can be a little bit uncomfortable for both players.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's basically the only map where you can get a concave at someone's natural after going to the ramp, you know, or something. Yeah. No one else has that. No other map has that. Actually, one of the worst maps was Habitation Station. That ramp was very steep and very close to the command, or the command center or Nexus. So it was quite hard to get up there. But Infernal Pool is complete opposite. Now we don't have Aegis to open up with any types of drops. Again, he got the worst. Yeah, basically worst drop play position that he could have. But, you know, Widowmine drops just become so... They're the go-to, you know? After or during and after Blink Stalkers, it was 3 racks was the go-to. It was a good build. But then, the maps changed. The Blink Stalker didn't have to be nearly as, hard countered or soft countered, whatever you want to call it. So then people got into Widow, like really into Widow Mines, and I still think it's like one of the best openers because it not only is almost always going to do some damage, the Marines themselves can do damage. That's the best thing about it. It gets really good scouting. It'll scout a Dark Shrine on 2 bases, for instance.
Exactly. I mean, that's whenever you're doing any kind of aggression, that's one of the best things. You see everything your opponent is up to. And even if you are, for example, in, say, State's position, you're going for the Robo first, you get out the Observer, dealing with it can still be a huge pain, just because when you go for that earlier Robo, you don't necessarily have a lot of gateway units like immediately kill off the Widow Mine. You can still kind of pick it up or run it over to a different base. Like, you don't have the units to split up.
That's when the Marines suddenly become a problem. The Widow Mine's really great, but then there's still 6-4 Marines with a medevac that Stalkers actually can't kill. It becomes a big problem. But that's how it's going to happen in this game. In fact, we have State once again going for these Immortals, but very clearly not an Immortal all-in as he already has a Robotics Bay on the way. So, I mean, he either is going to fake aggression while still being kind of scary, like we saw on Deadwing, or this is just he wants to supplement his army, He was like that first Overgrowth Grain man, those Marauders kept surviving through everything. What can I do to stop that? Well, the answer is usually Immortals.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't dislike the decision, actually. Like, ignoring the whole Immortals are really weird to see in this day and age, you consider the map and, the spawn locations they ended up in. This is, pretty much, actually, I think, I want to say this, but I'm not 100% sure if it's true. Is this the closest possible spawn position you can get in the current map pool? Of, anything? I think that it might be.
Is it the closest?
Can you have closer spawn positions in this from natural to natural? I don't think so.
I don't think so, because Catalina would have been the contender if you didn't wrap around your base to get to the other person's base. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be seeing a very fast third expansion coming down from Aegis. It's already there. It's already mining. Is building a refinery there. State has seen it, so. Is he just going to make the big 2-base Colossus push out?
I think so. I mean, 5 gateways right now stopped pro production.
Oh, yeah.
Before as well. I think that's going to be the choice. And this is actually a really great choice. Again, gotta remind you, we noticed that Aegis, he wasn't so fast that second starport, in these past games. He's really been quite drop heavy, in fact. Or just, bio heavy. But this game is the change-up. Yes, he gets a greedy third on location, but he gets a faster, starport because of it. So... the push starts right now. The Terran player's job right now is to just wait until he has even 4 to 6 Vikings. That suddenly is a huge deal.
Yeah, and right now there is actually that second starport that's trying to transition over to a reactor. He's trying to pump out 4 Vikings at a time right now, but the Colossus and the Stalkers are here right now. They're going to be moving up into the natural expansion. The army is actually mainly over at the third. Could he get force fielded out? Maybe.
Yeah, he could.
Or could he get force fielded in?
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult position. He had to have given up 1 base, either the third or the natural. Difference is that his army would have been stuck at the natural as opposed to being able to freely move about. Because there's always the chance that he thinks he can't hold this. He instead loads up and initiates a base trade. So State actually decides not to go for the natural, but rather the third. The army just backs out of there. Again, they have an exit strategy over here. And had he lifted his command center sooner, he might have been able to save it. No, he still might be able to save it.
Time Warp goes actually down on top of those SCVs. He force fields the army away at the top. He's going to be able to absolutely murder this. The Vikings are going to be able to clean up all the Colossus.
Dang.
And the Mothership Core got taken out also. There's no recall.
That was absolutely brutal. State, that did not work at all.
Well, I would say he's at an advantage. GG.
Dang.
Game 7, Zombie Grub. Game 7.
Yeah, ace match.
Team Gravity Fight Night Curse is back.
Hey, this wasn't like a 3-0 and a 4-3, man. This was back and forth as it gets.
Yeah, I think it's actually just been trading wins ever since that one. I just got up on 2-0 and then it's just been trading wins since almost.
Yeah.
Very, very close series. But again, we're going to be going to Game 7. I want to remind you guys that if you're watching this over on Hitbox, you can actually go ahead and vote. If you're like me and you held off on voting for the current poll, which is match point, who wins, I said actually that I think... Oh, no, wait, hold on. I misread the question. No, I'm right. Okay, I'm totally right. I said, of course, that I guess it's going to be able to, or it's going to be tied up very soon because I already know the results of the game and we're on a delay. So,
what?
Cool facts. Yeah. Sorry, that was like the worst told joke ever. That was the worst told joke in history. But anyways, going to Game 7, there's only one map left over. I think it's a map that you're very familiar with, and I know a lot of people are sad to see it go, but I guess this is probably going to be happy with it. It's going to be Catalina.
Yeah. States, though, I mean, he made Secret Spring work, so I know he has a plan for Catalina.
Yeah. All right. Well, as we get ready to load into the game, I want to remind you guys again that all of these show matches are made possible by Hitbox. So thank you so much to Hitbox. If you guys want to show your support for Hitbox, it's as simple as just registering on Hitbox and participating in the chat, just doing what you would normally do on a stream. Talk in the chat, like follow the channel if you want to see more of Team Gravity Fight Dance. And of course, if you do want to go the extra mile, you can also throw out the subscriptions like we also had our earlier subscriber do, Endryflox. But yeah, big shout out, of course, I know, to the wonderful man that's actually behind all the production today. I know that Zombie Grub and I are pretty lazy. We just kind of just sit back and watch StarCraft and talk about it, but the person doing all the production and all that good stuff is actually Current TV, man that you guys don't hear, but he's the man in our ears that sometimes says things and the Zombie Grub and I will just completely shut up and we're like, wait, Current TV's talking, and everyone just thinks that we're going crazy and we're getting really quiet, but swear to God, there's somebody in our ear. Of course, a big shout out also to @1Cybert, who actually does all those player card intros and has done a lot of really, really awesome work with that. But I think we're finally starting to get the game started and get into the game. Zombie Grub, predictions, Stater, Aegis right now. Who you feeling is looking stronger right now?
Aegis.
Aegis? Just because of like Catalina, or just like who looks stronger right now?
Terran, Catalina.
All right. Well, I believe in the power of State's defense and his Protoss play and his storms. Oh God, those storms. Let's go ahead and jump in and introduce the players. As we spawn up here in the top center location, the red Protoss player has been able to bring the series, tying it up. It is State.
In the middle left, as the blue Terran, it's Roots Aegis.
So Seed just woke up.
Yeah.
A little. Like 10, 15 minutes ago. Well, that's news. Well, match point. Only one game to do. Do you think that we see any kind of proxy or weird early shenaniganry?
We might see a proxy Stargate, but that's it. You know, Aegis hasn't sent any SCVs out, so that's not a proxy from him. And there's nothing really. The only other kind of weird aggressive thing he could do besides a proxy would be like a one-base Widowmine drop, but we have not seen him do that at all this series. If he was Gumiho, I'd be like, yeah, sure. If he was Supernova, yeah, sure. But him. Nah, I mean, probably just go ahead and go for the 3 racks again, honestly, because it is Catalina, and while it's good for drops, it's also good for Blink Stalkers.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I mean, we have seen State at least open up Twilight Council. He went into DTs the one time that he did go for Actually, he went for Twilight Council game number 1 first, which was, again, something that we did talk about. It was like very, very different than standard Protoss play these days just because of the Widowmine stuff. I'm curious if he'd ever be considering like doing it again. Opening
up with Twilight Council?
Yeah. On like a map like Catalina?
Yeah, I'd certainly expect so. That he threw it out in another series, that is. And it's a pretty nice opener, honestly. Even though you don't feel 100% safe if you don't get a scout with your observer timing, because it's not as quick as possible. It is still fairly safe. Like, as long as you're a pro gamer with good reactions, you're supposed to be able to, only take 1 probe shot with each Widowmine, and then the observer's out, so it should be no big deal. But it is a little scarier. But so far, no tech yet. He's getting up to the 100 gas. So we're actually going to see it like right soon after he throws on the Nexus.
Yep, going to be canceling that Zealot as always. He's done this every single game almost, except for that one game he went for the proxy Stargate. Pretty same opening from State. Probably going to be around that second gas geyser soon. And I guess, does he continue to build more barracks? Does he tech up the factory?
Yeah. That's a good question. Where does he at with the gas, actually? He still has to be on gas, so it's going to be the factory. Again, this is something that State does potentially give up just by not scouting. And I say potentially because you could also your probe could also just die before seeing the guys stay on gas anyways. But, if you get that scout, you see that they're still on gas, it's a nice feeling. You're like, oh, I know. Okay, you're going to do my job. Let me just go ahead and put my army in position based on the positions that we spawn on this map. Which, does State even know where spawn is? No, that's actually really bad, in my opinion.
Seen anything? Yeah.
It's a big map. They're gonna be able to get a drop off anyways, but to have at least your stalkers in somewhat the right position is always better.
Yeah, I like that State has been positioning his pylons kind of around his base, so he knows how good of a map this is for those drops, so he's gonna be ready and prepared for it. I want to actually note though that Reaper does move in, and he sees, it's not like a big scout, but he sees the pylon, so he kind of has some idea of like, okay, there's some dark spots maybe I could try and drop into along the top side, not going to be dropping in from the bottom side. It's those small little things that can make those drops a little bit more effective.
That's true. Looks like Aigis is going to go ahead and invest into Hellions, though, so either he's going to swap off soon enough, or he is going to do like a 2 Hellion, 2 Wood of Mind. I mean, there's so many variations that you can do, but basically if you get Hellions, you're looking to pull the Protoss apart, like you usually do, but sometimes Hellions are still a surprise to Protoss. They're like, what is this unit? You don't get this in this matchup? What are you doing? And they mess up. But the last time Aigis went Hellions on Deadwing, easiest hold ever for State. Like, it was beautiful.
Yeah, that was a weird game also, right? Was that the game that he opened up Twilight Council? I think that was a game where he was like going... No,
it was like the Robo, and he got Immortals, and then he went for like the push.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah, we'll see if he handles it quite as well this game. I know that there have been a lot of games where Terran players will go for this kind of build. They'll like get the Hellions, they'll just run them into the natural, and they'll drop the Marines in the main base. So whether or not State's prepared for it, he's gonna have 2 photon, or at least a photon overcharge available. Will he have 2? Maybe. Probably not.
Well, it looks like State's going to use this, Mist Scout just to plant down a Proxy Pylon for later use. So that's cool. That's,
it's useful.
It's a good move. But these Hellions, I guess they're looking for Proxy Pylons closer to the 3rd, which is definitely a good move. Not getting a very quick 3rd at all. Going to get the production. Because, I mean, as much as State hasn't scouted, Aigis hasn't gotten much of a scout either. Now he is, as he drops, he sees what units there are. He's going to see the tech buildings eventually. Where is that Mothership Core? Nice block with the probes.
Yeah, he does a great job over there. The Marines, actually, for Aigis sitting in the main base, they have a golden opportunity to run to the middle line. They finally actually start to do that as he was busy microing the Hellions. But now, State has reacted, and he's going to be able to pull those probes back and defend against this.
Yeah. And there's enough units here that the Marines cannot take him down. The medevac, which would have been targeted down, and losing that is not worth like the 1 or 2 stalkers you could get, because this is going to be constant reminders that State has to be wary of a medevac out in space, basically.
Exactly. And I like actually the positioning over here. State is getting out more and more of those observers, and he's actually got 3 of them positioned out really, really nicely on the map. Unfortunately for him, Terran players love hugging walls, and he's hugging that top wall, that top side of the map, and doesn't look like he's going to be quite fully prepared for this drop, although he does have a couple stalkers in position.
It's again, though, that the medevac is the one who has to survive, so he has to give up the Marines that he puts down. He kills nothing for it. I don't even think... No, 1 probe went down. All right.
Yeah. Can drop 2 probes over the natural expansion, maybe. Put on some pressure there. But, yeah, these drops are going to be a lot less effective once a Blink finishes up, though. So I guess going to have to be a little bit more careful once that does happen. I mean, he's seen pretty much everything that's going on inside of the base of State, so he should know that Blink is probably on the way. He should know about the robotics bay and everything. It's just kind of a matter of what he decides to do with the time he has right now.
Well, I guess it's quite a ways away from getting Stim to finish, but I never really think of that as a reason not to push, where some Terrans do. Sucks that he loses that medevac again. That medevac means starting Viking production that much earlier, comfortably. Anyways, back to the stim is that like some Terrans will be so afraid they don't have stim, they can't retreat, they can't pounce, that they shouldn't do anything at all. I think that's a really bad idea. Yes, you give up your stim timing with this build opener, but that doesn't mean you should stop harassing. It's a harass-based opener, and you should continue to try and mess them up. StarCraft 2 is often a game about making your opponent make mistakes, as opposed to making as few mistakes yourself. So I really like that he's loaded up, he's ready to go. Stim may or may not be finished by the time he drops, but it doesn't matter because it's still applying pressure.
Yeah, Observer sees a couple of the units moving in and across the center of the map, and State maybe a little bit out of position for this drop over in the main base. There are 2 Colossus over there, though, and they should easily be able to force the lift up into the main, or the medevacs.
Rip Sentry.
Was not long for this world.
Yeah, but that's still 2 medevacs worth of units that are just ready to go, and your third base still is. It's going to be hard to secure this third base, knowing that he's out in the map all the time, because it's it needs to finish, and then it's pretty easy to defend with Photon Overcharge.
Yeah, because it's Catalina and Widowmine. Okay, does get scattered up by the Observer, but got a couple of units moving into the natural. Blink forward, pretty aggressively forward. He's actually trying a regular move command, I think. A bit of miscontrol. Losing a lot of stalkers for that.
Yeah, that was weird. But I guess he's finishing up his third command center. Does not build on location. I kind of agree with that move. We've seen more and more Terrans go ahead and put on location, but especially on Catalina, where there seems to always be a pylon to the bottom of your third base. Like, yeah, just put in your main base. You'll be fine. But another drop is loaded up. I mean, that's going to be 5 medevacs, all basically full of units, dropping. I mean, he could drop onto the 2 Colossus that are defending with that many units.
Yeah, and I want to note the Observer that was originally positioned along that top side, it's not there anymore. It got pulled back to clean up that Widowmine earlier on, and he didn't reposition it. He's starting to reposition it, but it's going to be about 4 to 5 seconds too late.
He scans ahead and thinks, okay, I'm going to go ahead and drop here. A Blink forward tries to get the medevac, but he actually tries to micro back and thus loses the opportunity to snipe it.
Well, Photon Cannon gets picked off. I mean, he has his Colossus here. He's going to be able to clean up this army. Did he take too much damage, though? How much? He lost a couple of probes, at least.
Yeah, well, a lot of the Stalkers went down, which was the biggest biggest catch for Aigis there. His third attack wasn't really set up quite nicely, but it looks to be still nice enough to cancel it.
Yeah, no way that third actually ends up finishing up, and you can see that now State's kind of pulled back and forth as the medevacs are now going, oh god, this is into the worst place. This is the worst feeling as a Protoss player. On Catalina, when they get up into that dead airspace at the top right-hand corner, you just say, well, I guess I just wait for them to decide to drop me, because I can't really do anything until they do.
Yeah. For me, as it gets closer, it's about 15 minutes right now, and I'm like, okay, like the third base isn't down yet. That's really worrying. The first cancel, the second cancel, you're like, it's Catalina, like I can survive this, and then it's a third and fourth cancel, you're like, oh, I'm gonna lose just based off of macro. This is getting really bad. Of course, one thing you have from kind of playing this style is that you have a lot of good tech, but you're on 2 bases, so you gotta like make sure to use it wisely, I suppose, because you're not really being able to replenish that tech. But it is nice tech, nevertheless, and hopefully you can actually secure that third in a timely manner.
Yeah, I mean, just speaking of the tech, we got Psystorm on the way with a couple of High Templars, as we have seen some feedbacks already out. And there is one feedback, actually, picking off that medevac. But also got 2-2 finished up, so that is going to be one nice kind of thing going for State in this next engagement. But that is a decently sized Bioforce, and State has to make the decision. Do I position my army with my natural and just give up my third again? Or do I move down the ramp?
This already starts off really nice for State. He gets all the Vikings.
Yeah.
I don't really know why Aigis is doing this.
Yeah, he could have just sat at the bottom of the ramp and like moved into the third, and it looks like now he's going to try and do something like that. But he's going to lose so much of his army over here. I don't even know if he has time to cancel this third anymore.
A main drop tried to go off, but the Blink Stalkers reacted in time that they catch most of it, but it is still a couple of probes down. The army is going to clean up Aigis' army, and they didn't lose many tech structures, or tech units.
Yeah, and he keeps the third expansion alive. It's a little bit bruised and battered, but I mean, what exactly does Aigis have to continue on the pressure? He's got a lot of Vikings. He's got a couple of Marids and Marauders. but this is still not a big enough force to really contend with State even just splitting up his army into thirds.
Charge was actually chosen after Storm. A little bit of interesting swap. I think if you were in a perfectly comfortable position, you'd usually get Charge before Storm, but as his third was so late, it was a tough decision to make. I said he didn't lose any tech units, but I think he lost maybe 1 or 2 High Templars. He just warped in a couple more, so they don't have Storm, I believe. Not quite yet, but if Aigis goes and pushes in, well, he's not, so never mind. He goes for the drop instead, but there's feedbacks, there's Blink Stalkers.
Feedbacks. No feedbacks, he storms instead, actually. Feedbacks one of them.
It's still going to be good enough, but I expected the feedbacks.
Oh, Vikings, what are you doing over here?
Oh, I guess that run into the natural was where things actually started to look up for State, you know? That should have been another third cancel and his, him just like sweating more and more. But now it's looking like Overgrowth where, okay, fine, his third was a lot later. He's still down in army supply technically, but he could survive. He definitely could.
To put things in perspective, before that kind of run into the third expansion of the natural that Aigis did, Aigis was sitting up almost 60 supply. Now he's only up about 30 supply. And yeah, he's got a decent number of Vikings, but I mean, his ghost production is... I guess he does have a couple of ghosts, but I mean, it's not like a super high count or anything right now. He's got to really make sure he's super on top of those EMP lands. And, well, it's really going to come down to positioning again in that kind of engagement.
It is. Now, State is the defender, so he's going to have maybe a little bit of an easier time. But it's still a very formidable army. And he's trying very hard to get the EMPs on his High Templars, but one already gets EMP'd. Where are the other ones? They morphed to Archons? They must have. I don't see any more in the field.
There's no more. And the Vikings are in way high enough of a count to actually take out all of these Colossus, but I mean, is there actually enough? One storm does go down, hits a lot of the Marines, but I mean, there's so many medevacs left over. You might just have enough to continue pushing on through.
It looks like it. A couple more Marauders join in the fray too, and the Zealots are all gone. That's really the war reinforcement that suddenly turns the tides, but he's looking on all of his army. There's the Zealots being warped in, but they're being targeted down.
Yeah, a couple of the Zealots are going to be moving in, but as you're saying, they're getting targeted fired down, and Aigis comes in with more reinforcements of his own. One storm comes in from the main base, and there is actually a pretty good storm. He has a second storm, but he has to waste it on the Marauders. He's going to lose both of those High Templars.
I guess his mothership was also targeted down during that fight.
Yeah. State only has 2 Stalkers to his name right now. He's warping in 7 High Templars and feedbacking all the medevacs, making Archons, but I mean, they're still alive, and so the third is not.
Yeah, that's this is looking like game. It was a very difficult map for State, and State this time did not have a very, clever plan. On Secret Spring, he had that secret base. But on Catalina, no secret base, no aggressive maneuver, not even a proxy. He just tried to macro it.
At the end of the day, Aigis is going to be taking the series 4-3. Going to be netting himself $60. I don't know, maybe he can use that on a couple Legacy of the Void Smurf accounts in the future. But, State also going to get $20 as well for himself, so not too shabby. But that is going to be it for the broadcast today, guys. So, guys, thank you all so much for tuning in for the broadcast. I want to give a big congratulations to all of our winners. And actually, hold on. So let's think about this. We had Aigis winning, we had Cats winning.
Yeah.
And we had, wait a second, who were our first players?
Massa.
So we had all 3 Root players winning. We had, everything is just going in favor of Team Root.
Yeah.
So, pretty good showing for Root today. But, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to check out all of the players. We had, again, Massa versus Kelazur, so be sure to check those guys out, as well as, of course, Aigis versus State, and Cats and Dragon. All of them showed some pretty awesome games today. And of course, be sure to check out Hitbox, who actually does, again, sponsor the event. They put up all the money in the prize pool for the event. So if you want to show your love for them and want to see more of these kind of Team Gravity Fight Night show matches, then all you have to do is register on Hitbox, start checking it out, and hey, you might even see some other streams that you actually want to check out besides Team Gravity Fight Night. But of course, you can follow the channel over here and also subscribe if that is what you're interested in. And of course, ZombieGarb, where can people catch you at?
You can find me on Twitter at CG Gaming and on Twitch at twitch.tv/ZombieGarb.
Of course, you can catch our amazing observer, Kurin TV, over on Twitter at Kurin TV, as well as the person who makes all the graphics at OneCybert. And you can catch me over on all the social stuff at FearDragon64. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for the night. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and have a good day.